disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. Just, I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing. Got nothing.
I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
Welcome everybody to another BDA Boxing podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. It's a good friend, Mr. BDA, and I sure am glad that everybody could be on board for this one, fellas. In this episode, we've got a fantastic one for you as we continue to delve and focus on this Saturday's fights. We're also going to take the time to talk about Matias versus Paro. We didn't talk about that on the not the previous show, but the before the last show. So we're going to talk about that and some of the other news around boxing. But the first piece of business is going to be dealing with who will be the next American pay-per-view star, and can Tank Davis be one of the relatively older stars to carry that mantle? We're going to talk about that. We're going to be opening up the phone lines near the end of the hour. But before we get down to the fun, let's get the business out of the way, fellas. You know the drill. If you want to continue to contribute via the super chat feature, you're certainly welcome to do so. My goodness gracious. You can also join the Patreon page. For as little as $2, you can help us maintain and continue to fund our independent documentaries that we make. But the most important thing is you continue to like, subscribe, and you spread that BDA gospel, right, fellas? Spread it nice and wide. Now, don't forget you can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and Spreaker at your leisure. And if you are going to go on Spotify, make sure to hit that 5-star rating, all right? It really helps us out. Who's in the chat here? Let's give a shout-out to Real Talk Boxing, The Quags, one of the initiated, Night Murph, shout-out to him. Shout-out to Jose Severino Jr., El Gordo in the house, Rafael Garza, shout-out to him as well, Dark Heido. A lot of the initiated here today, let me tell you. Shout out to Martin Kearney, Alonzo Amazing, who else? Bad Brother, Boxing Sicario, Josh San Miguel, John Sean Boxing, Soul Passive Live, Alejandro Solis, Jose Severino Jr., Lalo Soto Gaming, shout out to him. Another of the anointed ones. Pigeon in the house as well, shout out to Pigeon. J.A., Super Sardonic, and many more people to come. J. Colt, Sargent in the house, Straight G Turo, Debray in there as well. Shout out to him. And like I said, many more people to come. I'm sure, fellas, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, let me just call a couple of people here, and we'll start the proceedings and really get into it. Because again, I don't know if you guys saw the news yesterday. Tank Davis was MIA for the grand arrival. Now, he did show up for the press conference today, but he showed up looking very agitated. Leads me to wonder what's going on here. Is he trying to get under Frank Martin's head? Is he... Because, you know, the rumor was yesterday, some people were speculating that he failed to show up to the grand arrival because he had to get in one of those last-minute runs to maybe shed the weight. Maybe he's not... You know, the fact that he's been out of the ring for over a year might end up costing him or something. I mean, I don't know. That's some people are speculating about that. And then again, like I said today, he looked rather unhinged. And I mean, usually he's a very talkative fella, very verbose. But somebody needs to. Who's here? Yep, Chief, please mute your mic because there's some background noise there while I was speaking here. But Tank Davis was looking kind of agitated at the press conference. He wouldn't stop looking at Frank Martin. You see there, Tank Davis in the background. He was wearing a cap and long dreads, so he kind of looked like a hobo a little bit there. And he wouldn't stop talking. He just wouldn't stop. And he got particularly incensed when Frank Martin talked about a alleged sparring session that occurred within the last 3-4 years, I believe, and that Frank Martin buzzed him. And again, I don't know why he would take that so hard. I mean, sparring is sparring. But that's what we've got. I know we got Chief. Can I just say one thing here before we get started on the whole main subject of the discussion? Because I did a live film analysis last night, just touching up on a couple of things of how Tank Davis does against southpaws. And I gave him his props for some of the things he does. He's very creative in there. And when he wants to get on the defensive, he's very hard and difficult to hit, rather. So I gave him his props, but I also offered a lot of criticism about how he struggles against guys that aren't really elite. So that really got under a lot of people's skins because, again, Tank Davis fans, they're really protective of their guy, and I can appreciate that. But when they start delving into fantasy and confabulations, that's when I go, all right, what's going on here? Now, there were some comments that were very low quality comments, like, BD doesn't know shit about boxing, and okay, how do I reply to that? Like, you want me to show you that I know about boxing? I mean, just look at the film analysis. I think that gives you an indication that I know a little something. So I don't reply to those comments. But this person left a rather long comment, so I feel like I owe it to him to reply. But I just didn't want to do it in writing because who has the time to do that? Might as well do it during a show. So first he started saying that what I was saying was inaccurate because I also said that Tank Davis engages in semi-homosexual behavior, which, I mean, I don't want to show you the proof on the air because it's disgusting, but I mean, if you want me to, I'll show it again. But then he started saying this, that the guys that I think aren't good really are good, meaning the guys that Tank Davis fought. Then he says, you thought Devin Haney was good until he fought one of Tank's leftovers. First of all, this really shows you that this person doesn't watch the show. Because I have been saying that Devin Haney, although he's good, is overrated by everybody, by fans, by the media, by so-called experts. And I was one of the few people that was giving Ryan Garcia a good shot of beating him. So obviously this person right off the bat shows you he's never really watched the show and or doesn't really listen properly. I mean, you got to really stop and listen and hear what I'm saying. And then he says one of Tank's leftovers. So if a guy gets beat once, that means he's a leftover. Like that, now all of a sudden that disqualifies him as being a decent opponent. Okay, so that's the way this guy thinks. Ryan was at his best against Tank. Again, he wasn't at his best because he was dehydrated. And Tank Davis told you himself that Ryan Garcia had too many advantages and therefore he wanted to make things fair by putting a rehydration clause and a catch weight. He said it himself. The quote is out there. I might even put it up right now. While I'm reading this, but first things first. This fight here showed you that, and the haters, that there is levels to the sweet science. I mean, of course, there's levels to the sweet science, and Gervonta Davis has managed to stay undefeated against subpar opposition, but we'll get to that. Then he says the belts don't mean shit. He says the guy Devin was so-called undisputed champion. He lost to Ryan, who has never won a belt. Those belts don't mean shit. He says that the belts don't mean shit. But then later, when he's describing Davis' opposition, as you can see later, he starts bringing up former champions, 4-division champions, blah, blah, blah. So which one is it? Do the belts matter or they do not matter? Or they don't matter? I mean, try to stay consistent here. Then he says Devin was so-called undisputed. He wasn't so-called undisputed. He was undisputed. You know who was never undisputed? Tank Davis. He's never been the man in either of the divisions that he's competed in, a 130 or 135. He was never the consensus lineal champion. Mario Barrios became, that's what he calls him, Barrios, became a champion after facing Tank. Again, the belts don't mean shit, but then he brings up champions. First of all, and I said this yesterday too, I mentioned it in the last 2 days, I said, nowadays you got 4 different titles per division. And then on top of that, you got subdivisions of those titles. So in any one division, you can have 6 people walking around calling themselves champions. So that has diluted for the past 30 years, even more, has diluted the term champion. Nowadays, most of the guys that have titles are only contenders. So evidently either this guy is being, I mean, I hate to speculate, but it sounds like he's just started watching boxing and he doesn't really understand that titles don't really mean shit. But then again, I'm confused because he earlier, like I said, he mentioned that the belts don't mean shit. So right off the bat, he's contradicting himself. Mario Barrios became champion after facing Tank. Again, he never really became the champ. He's not that champion in the welterweight division. That was Terence Crawford, who just left. So now it's wide open, but he's not that champ. He beat Yordenis Ugas and beat him bad. The same guy who beat Manny Pacquiao. Yeah, the same guy who barely beat Manny Pacquiao, and an old Manny Pacquiao. And then on top of that, Yordenis Ugas was old himself. So, I mean, he beat a Yordenis Ugas. Wow, okay, pound for pound then, right there. I guess what this guy's trying to say. Tank put Mario down 3 times, which is something full-fledged welterweights like Keith Thurman and Ugas could not do to Mario Barrios. Well, Keith Thurman dominated him. And you know why he didn't drop him? Maybe it's because he didn't dehydrate Mario Barrios the way Tank did. Now, you're starting to see that's 2 people that he's fought that were dehydrated. Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios. What do those guys have in common? Tall guys who can crack. So Tank Davis will not get in there with them unless he's got a rehydration clause. But you guys, like you say, that he hasn't fought the best. I mean, again, I think he meant to say, you guys like to say that he hasn't fought the best. Lomachenko lost to Devin, who got murdered by Ryan Garcia. Again, he didn't get murdered by Ryan Garcia. He lost. He got dropped 3 times. There was a lot of clinching as well from Ryan Garcia there. Also, and then he says, you guys still think Loma is the cream of the crop. First of all, Lomachenko lost to Devin Haney. Did he really lose to Devin Haney? I mean, Lomachenko's the guy that these Tank Davis fans pretend Tank Davis is. Lomachenko is a little guy that doesn't call for concessions, doesn't demand things, doesn't ask for catch weights, rehydration clauses. He doesn't demand where the fight should be, the size of the ring. You never see him bitching and moaning on Twitter. He's a little guy that's pushing the bigger guys back and beating them. And he's beaten more top lightweights than Tank Davis has. I mean, that's undisputed. That's not something, that's not an opinion, that's a fact. So he goes, yeah, okay. Then he goes, Leo Santa Cruz was a 4-time champion. Again, he said championships don't mean shit, but now he wants to bring up championships again for the 3rd time. Leo Santa Cruz, yeah, what happened with Leo Santa Cruz, by the way? He started off at bantamweight. His best division was at 126. That's where he looked his best. And ever since he went, super bantamweight. And then after super bantamweight, at 126 and 130, he looked flat. And even then, he was giving Tank Davis the business. He was tagging Tank Davis and snapping his head back and forth with combinations. And again, just because my reputation is being questioned here, I was one of the few people that said that Leo Santa Cruz was going to be a tough fight. Everyone else thought, no, he's just going to walk through him. So again, he's trying to pump up little Leo Santa Cruz like he was his, multi-division pound for pounder. Isaac Pitbull Cruz is a champion. Again, 4th time he brings up the championships when he started off by saying that championships don't mean shit. Isaac Pitbull Cruz is a champion. He's not a champion. And we're going to get to why. Pedraza was an undefeated champion. I give him, Pedraza has been his best win so far, and that was 7 years ago. And again, another guy that had to move up immediately after losing to Tank Davis because he was dehydrated at 130. He looked like a zombie. Then you look at him when he's at 140, all of a sudden, now at 135 and 140, and all of a sudden he looks healthy. Even Rolly Romero was champion. Again, 5th time he brings up championships when before he said titles don't mean shit. Even Rolly Romero was a champion. Again, he wasn't a champion. He was supposed to fight Puello, who tested dirty. They had to bring in a late replacement, who was a 41-year-old Barroso. Barroso gave Romero hell, dropped him, was beating him before Tony Weeks, the referee, performed one of the worst stoppages we've ever seen in the last decade. Even Tony Weeks admitted it later on, and of course there were no repercussions, because why would there be? And that's it. That's how Romero was crowned so-called champion, according to this guy. No, he's not a champion. He's a titleist. He's a contender. The real champ is Teofimo Lopez. He's the undisputed champion because there's no dispute that anyone else is the real champ at 140. So again, this guy just showing you he doesn't really know what he's talking about. Everything that he's accusing me of, he's showing here by these confabulations. All I know is Tank defacing undefeated guys and giving them their first loss. Everybody was talking up Hector Garcia. Again, this guy will just say anything. He doesn't mind contradicting himself. You can tell he's just looking at BoxRec. That's what I think. It gives me the impression reading this, that this guy's just reading BoxRec. Look, Leo Santa Cruz, 4 division champ. Okay. Rolly Romero, undefeated guy when he fought Tank Davis, and then future champion. He wasn't a future champion. He's not a champion. He was never a champion. Again, box rig warriors all over the place here. Everyone was talking up Hector Luis Garcia. Nobody was talking him up. And then on top of that, he was a featherweight who moved up as a last-minute replacement to face Chris Colbert at 130. And then he moved up to 135 within a year to fight Tank Davis. So no, nobody was talking him up. And then he followed that up by facing a young, hungry, and undefeated Ryan Garcia. Again, young, hungry. Okay, what does that mean? Who had Ryan Garcia beat prior to that? And I thought Ryan Garcia had a very good chance. I picked him to beat Tank Davis by a close decision. And I said he mustn't get overconfident and frustrated by Tank Davis's running around the ring on the defensive, because I knew that's what Tank Davis was going to do. So again, if you're calling into question my boxing acumen here, I told you what was going to happen in the fight, and it happened. So again, just because you call Ryan Garcia young, hungry, undefeated, that doesn't really do anything. What had he done in the ring? Again, you can call him whatever you want. You can go with your feelings all you want. Stick to the facts. What had Ryan Garcia accomplished prior to that? And even then, Tank Davis struggled with Ryan Garcia before his power once again bailed him out. Then he starts talking about Canelo, which, I mean, I don't know what that has to do with Tank Davis. I mean, if you're in court and you have to defend Tank Davis, are you going to bring up Canelo? Is that your argument? Well, what about Canelo? So I just felt I owed it to this guy, since he wrote this long comment, that I felt it necessary, and I owed it to him to break down and counter his flimsy arguments. I mean, I got to give it up to Tank Davis fans. They have fertile imaginations. They should put that into, some creative writing, fiction writing, something, because they're wasting it away here, creating fantasies about their fighters. But anyway, that's all I want to say about that. Chief, are you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear him, and thank you for bearing with me here, but I just felt I owed it to the guy to reply to him on the air, as opposed to just writing it. But yeah, okay, so Chief, we've got the Tank Davis-Frank Martin fight coming up. Apparently it's doing well at the gate, which is something that Tank Davis has been known to do, but he can't get over that hump, it seems, to become a primetime mainstream fighter. Now, apparently he was supposed to show up yesterday at the grand arrival, they call it, which was anything but grand, by the way. It was kind of pathetic. He decided to go on a run. But not only did he go on a run, he actually put down the promotion saying that it was ass. That's what he called it. He tweeted that. He said that. So he's criticizing his own promotion. This is taking place on Amazon, and they're not putting up any money, so they no longer have the Showtime money. Everything has to be fronted by the PBC. What do you think? With Tank Davis being the closest thing that America has to a mainstream star, can he carry American boxing?
Not with the way they're doing him. I mean, he fights once a year average. They don't. I haven't seen too many commercials for this fight. Now, I don't have mainstream TV anymore. I mainly stream my stuff through Fire Stick and stuff.
Oh,
but I do have Amazon Prime, and on Amazon Prime, you would think the fact that since Amazon Prime's putting this fight on, that they would be advertising it, and I'm not seeing a lot of advertisements for it. So, but they don't put a lot of advertisements in for fights that they don't think are going to sell well. Now, he is a box office star. He sells a lot of tickets. There are tickets still available, but not like, not hundreds of seats that I from the research I've seen. Look, when all the stars from before yesteryear, the De La Hoya, the Mayweather, the Pacquiao. First of all, Mayweather and Pacquiao became stars because of Oscar De La Hoya, and anyone that thinks to the contrary is lying to themselves and their fanboys. They ultra famously crossed the line in major selling points from beating Oscar De La Hoya. It wasn't on their own volition, skill, and charisma that got them there. Neither one of them. Neither one of them came close to 500,000 buys until after they beat Oscar De La Hoya. So, to be honest with you, pay-per-view revolved around when did Trinidad become a $10 million fighter after he fought Oscar De La Hoya? Oscar De La Hoya, regardless if people have exceeded him, is the standard that everyone got to after he became the major star. And since him and the people that carried off of his, had their shine off of fighting him, no one's really crossed any major selling level since him. Now, I went off a tangent, I know that, but I mean, if you really think about it, post-Oscar and people that got their star off of Oscar, as I just said, so now there is torch on. No one is selling points anything since then, and with the way the networks are changing everything to streaming and only doing pay-per-view on occasions and things like that, we're in a flux to where getting to be a major box office drawing power star is going to be the fighters are going to have to do a lot of their own promoting, because the networks are only going to do so much and the promoters can only get so many deals going. The fighters have to do the rest. They have to get out there at these press conferences, and they have to make their name out there. They have to be outgoing, and that's not Tank's style. And then he calls the promotion ass, according to what you're saying. Well, great. Then if you're calling it that, but you're not showing up for events, you're not helping it any. You're doing yourself no favors. You're actually costing yourself potential money by not being cooperative. No one owes you a living, Tank. None of us do. I don't pay for your fights.
Oh,
because you haven't crossed enough to really make me want to actually shell out any money. If I find the fight, it's after it's on YouTube later when DAZN or PBC puts it on, or I might go to a friend's house and then I might pitch in. But none of it's coming directly out of my bank account towards any entity that he's attached to, because he doesn't make me want to buy his stuff. I don't care. I didn't care about him fighting. Was it Hector Garcia? Most people that did tune into that fight thought it probably because they're mainstream guys and don't follow, thought it was going to be Ryan Garcia, tuned in and felt like, oh, it's the wrong Garcia.
I don't know about that, but then again, I wouldn't be surprised though, man. But you made a good point there. You made a lot of good points, first of all, but one of the ones that I want to address first is when you said that, Tank Davis is complaining, but then doesn't do anything about it. In other words, why are you complaining about how the promotion is ass, but then you don't want to help it? So he's making it worse, in other words. I don't know why he would do that. Then again, the rumor, Chief, is that he had to go on a late last-minute run to shed some of the last couple of pounds there because he might not be doing too well in that department. I also want to emphasize that, listen, this is the third day in a row that we're going live. Because I'm really trying to push this fight. I'm intrigued by the fight, even though I have a lot of doubts about Frank Martin's wherewithal and his mental fortitude coming into the fight and into this, because it is a big fight in Vegas. I mean, he's like Tank Davis always does well at the gate. So in that regards, it is a big fight, more than some of these little cars that you see, or where they hold cards in Barclays and they can't even fill it up to half capacity. So in that regards, it is somewhat of a big fight. So I don't know if Frank Martin's going to step up, but I'm pushing for the fight. I'm really trying to go for it because I'm a boxing fan and I want boxing to succeed. But I don't think the same can be said of Tank Davis fans either, because they talk about him being the face of boxing. They talk a great deal, but they don't actually buy the pay-per-views. It seems to me like the hardcore fans who are showing off for Tank Davis fans, I see a lot of white faces. I see a lot of pale faces there. I don't really see, I don't, and I see some minorities too, but a lot of the people on Twitter, it seems they're not buying those fights, because if otherwise, he'd be doing 300,000 pay-per-view buys and above that, and he's not.
No, I don't think he's crossed 300 yet, has he? Not by anything recorded, anyway. Whether you believe Rick Glaser's numbers or not, the counter numbers, or the original numbers that Rick Glaser tries to counter, are still not over 300,000. So, I mean, Floyd opened his career at 300,000. So did Manny. They were selling over 300, not quite 4, but they were selling over 300,000 on their first pro fights, and they were in their early to mid 20s. This guy's 30 and still can't sell 300,000 pay-per-view buys. And then there's this huge contract that my buddy Sam and I were talking about that he's supposedly been inked to, but I haven't seen any details. But he's trying to say that it's bigger than Mayweather's. Okay, well, you haven't released details, so how big is this contract? And who's going to pay you that much unless it's, the Turk in Saudi Arabia, who, as it turns out so far, he's trying to buy boxing, but it doesn't seem like he's trying to turn a profit yet, because I don't know, I'm not going to comment on that because I don't know what the gates are over there, but He's pouring a lot of money into boxing. We don't know he's getting a return. I'll go that far.
Yeah.
But unless he's the one signing this contract to Tank, then, I mean, if Emma's not forking out 33 to 34 million a fight for Tank Davis, there's no way they're doing that.
Absolutely not.
Jeff Bezos isn't going to pay that kind of money to Tank Davis, since he can't even cross 500,000 pay-per-view buys.
That's right. Yeah, no, it was, and even then, well, I want to talk about that later, about the Amazon thing and how when it was announced, how people were raving about it, and now everyone's, we haven't heard anything about it. But first of all, you said, has Tank Davis pay-per-view numbers, has he ever done above 300,000? Well, against Ryan Garcia, he did. So he had to be paired up against another so-called, and I say so-called A-lister because nowadays, calling somebody an A-lister, it's not the same thing as in the 1990s or 2000s. Nowadays, with the internet, you don't necessarily have to be a box office attraction. You don't have to have that track record of being a box office attraction. If you have a lot of followers on Instagram and you hang around with the likes of Logan Paul and all of that, if you pair yourself up with another similar figure like that, you can do good numbers. But the number that's been thrown around by a lot of the Tank Davis fans and the Showtime acolytes and PBC acolytes is 1 million pay-per-view buys, that they did 1.3 million against Ryan Garcia. But then again, we know that the PBC, neither the PBC nor Showtime ever said that that was the case. Those were the lackeys, the Dan Rayfields and the Carpenters. They said rumored, reported. So they never really give you the actual figure. So unless Showtime or the PBC gave you the number, it's not real. Now, Rick Glacier claimed that he did about 800,000 pay-per-view buys, which is good. We're talking if has he ever done over 300,000? And okay, yes. Let's go in the middle. Let's go in and say, let's say it did 950,000 pay-per-view buys. He hasn't. He never did anything close to that before, and I doubt. I mean, what do you expect for the Frank Martin fight? How many pay-per-views do you think that's going to do?
I think first of all, he's already lost that luster of the success of Ryan. We remember it, but they couldn't capitalize on it because he got in trouble and then he was under house arrest.
Mm-hmm.
So the real hot iron has already it's gone from red hot to it may still burn your hand when you touch it, but it's gone back to the what's it called, the cast iron skillet, the black cast iron. It's gone from red hot to black cast iron again. It may still burn your hand, but it ain't that hot. Now I've been wrong before, and I'll be happy to be wrong again in this case, because if it does well, it's good for boxing, especially American boxing. And I do love my country, so I like for it to succeed where I live. But I just don't have the faith that Frank Martin's going to be the catalyst that's going to push Tank over that mark, because who really knows who Frank Martin is? I heard of him. I've seen his record. I'd seen some highlights. I haven't been able to follow him very much lately because he's not on any main events that cross my path. I catch his stuff afterwards. And so I also don't have a lot of streaming platforms. I don't pay for DAZN and stuff like that. I don't know what he fights off of, but I don't have ESPN Plus. So when I don't have these things, I don't catch them right away. And fighters like Frank Martin don't make me want to go get that. And I'm not trying to disrespect the man, but I don't buy as many subscriptions to stuff as I used to for TV. But since I don't, there's been nobody to really say, hey, you know what? I need DAZN because I like to watch that guy. He fights 4 times a year, so it'll be worth it for me to buy that. That doesn't. Nobody does that. Canelo doesn't even do that.
Yeah, for the
nobody
record,
fights off enough. Yeah.
For the record, Chief is a guy that used to be a hardcore boxing fan for 20-something years, but now with life, family, work, and all that, he sort of slowed down his rollout. But I mean, you see that he's passionate about boxing, but he's slowed down a little bit when it comes to purchasing and some of these fights and watching them live. Nevertheless, he keeps his eye on boxing. He knows how to distinguish a star from a non-star and an elite fighter from an average fighter or an overhyped fighter. So that's what I want to point out right there.
Thank you, sir.
No, well, I mean, I'm just telling you the truth here as I see it. And the other thing is about these pay-per-view numbers is that, okay, so another thing I want to touch on rather was you mentioned Tank Davis and the Ryan Garcia thing. That's a fight that people wanted to see. What's one of the common denominators between mainstream boxing stars? It's not just necessarily, there's an X factor. Like Canelo, for some reason, ever since he turned professional, 5 years into his professional career, or 6 years, he started capturing the imagination of the Mexican public, and he became a mainstream star there for some reason. But the common denominator, other than that X factor, that magical factor, whatever you want to call it, is that to become a mainstream star, you have to fight the best. When Floyd Mayweather, you mentioned it, when his breakthrough pay-per-view role was against Arturo Gatti. Now, Gatti, he was more of a brawler than anything else, very limited fighter, but at the time had strung together a nice winning record. It's a fight that people wanted to see, and so it happened. But when you're fighting the Rolly Romero's, the last minute replacement Isaac Cruz's, the Hector Luis Garcia's, the Mario Barrios. Those are not fights that people want to see. Maybe a hardcore guy like me can find something intriguing in them, but I'm an anomaly. I'm a weird guy. That's why I'm a hardcore boxing fan. Most of the people that are out there, and especially the Tank Davis fans, they don't pay for his fights, and what they do, they don't even watch his fights all that much. What they do, or his opponent's fights, what they do is like Thunderdome Boxing said one time, they'll scroll Twitter every once in a while they're playing NFL 2K or whatever. They'll go on their phone, they'll scroll or watch a couple highlights, see what Tank Davis is saying or what Gervonta, Devin Haney is saying, blah, blah, and then they'll put the phone down and go back to playing video games. They are not hardcore boxing fans. So they don't know who the big names are. They just look at boxing and they go, oh, this guy's got a title, he's a champion, therefore it must mean that he's good. But in order to be a mainstream star, mainstream boxer, you have to fight the best, the guys that people want to see. Anthony Joshua's done it, Canelo's done it, Tank Davis has not done it, and you're seeing why he's hit an impasse. I see we got Never Sobers jumping in here. Sobers, I don't know if you've been listening to what we've been talking about, but essentially it's about whether Tank Davis, who was fighting some of his contemporaries, even though he's younger than them, contemporaries were Jermall Charlo, Errol Spence, Deontay Wilder. Those guys are finito. Jermall Charlo, we don't know when he's going to come back or if he's going to come back. He's been MIA since last September. Deontay Wilder, we've been seeing him, he's been getting dominated like we expected him to as soon as he stepped out of his cocoon. And then Errol Spence hasn't been seen either since last July, so or in the ring, I should say. So, Sobers, what do you think? Can Tank Davis, as one of the last of the Mohicans, as his on and off mentor Mayweather like to say, can he carry American boxing for the meantime, for the moment? The silence says it all. That's a big N-O. Oh, there he is. Sobers, are you there, man?
Yo.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I would say, as far as Davis carrying carrying American boxing, I don't know how much longer he can carry himself, dude. He kind of was acting up a little bit at his press conference, and that's entertaining for some folks. But to me, I feel like he's really comfortable, and I don't know, bro. I feel like he was kind of acting like a little kid, and they were having a hard time like having the press conference. That guy who was talking, I can't remember his name, with the funny haircut, he was trying to talk over Davis. He was trying to like talk around him. He was trying to get everyone else's attention before Davis's, because they don't want to say nothing to him. You know, so it's like they're catering to him a little bit too much, bro. And that's like, he's going to implode sooner than later, bro. Or he's going to catch a L just from being too comfortable, like how he's acting with Frank Martin, like getting up, act like he's going to go hit him, or, you know, like the way he was acting at the press conference, to be acting like a goofy-ass little kid in school.
Well, what do you make of
he's just too comfortable.
What do you make of that? That yesterday, instead of showing off for the grand arrival, which was anything but grand, by the way, and then he's actually criticizing the promotion, saying, the promotion sucks, I'm not going to show up. What do you think about that?
I mean, the first chance that he's not making the money, they're going to drop his ass. That's how I see it.
There's a saying, I forgot who said it, or I'm going to paraphrase, but that it said that the same people that you shit on the way up are gonna crap on you on the way down. Something similar like that, and it's true. I mean, he's right now he's the PBC's last hope, so they're treating him like he's their messiah. But as soon as he drops, like Deontay Wilder did, what are they gonna do? Or how's he gonna survive with that? I mean, and you're right, he's acting very unhinged. I liked how Calvin Davis too was trying to play reverse psychology, saying like, Frank Martin, I want you to push his buttons. I want you to push him. I want you to make him angry. It almost seemed like he knew Tank Davis had already been agitated for the last couple of days, and he said, "Okay, you know what? Let's make it seem as if this is what we want. Like this is all by design. It's not that he's losing control. Which, by the way, we know Tank Davis is a guy that loses control. Just look at he's outside the ring life. But what did you make of that, Sobers?
I was saying, like, they're just trying to like cater to him in a minute, like in a way, and they were just trying to act. They're all trying to behave around his behavior and trying to act like he wasn't acting like a clown. But Martin was being pretty calm, and he was actually making him look dumb, bro. Because when Davis was talking about, oh, I've been watching you, I know who you've been training with, and whoop-de-whoop, and I've been out there working, grinding, like, you know, he was like, I have been. He's like, yeah, because you're nervous, because you're scared of me, because you know what you're dealing with. And he's like, no, that ain't it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was like just falling into traps. And he's the kind of person that comes off to me is that he needs you scared of him, or it's going to play a big factor in his performance. And if you need an example, just go to the Pitbull fight. He couldn't say nothing to him. He couldn't intimidate him. There's that language barrier. And when he couldn't say nothing to him, he couldn't get in his head. He was the one on the back foot that whole fight. He had no power. It looked like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So like, I think he's trying to psych himself up and Martin up, and I think he kind of needs that, or it's gonna hurt him.
I mean, that's one way of putting it, man. He did look kind of agitated, and that's the other thing that you reminded me when he was saying, Calvin Ford was saying, man, this guy. I called him Calvin Davis earlier, by the way, I think, but Calvin Ford was saying, he never been pushed before. I'm thinking, wait a minute, did you forget the Mario Barrios fight, where Mayweather had to barge through the crowd and get onto the corner and tell Davis late in the fight, you're losing this, you need to go for a knockout? Did they forget to watch like you mentioned, the Isaac Cruz fight that went down the wire? And like you said, one of the few guys that he couldn't intimidate. And then on top of that, they go, I'm always training. I'm thinking, wait a minute, you didn't train for, what was the Nicaraguan guy again that he fought on the undercard of Mayweather McGregor? I can't believe I forgot his name already. If anybody can remind me the name. But anyway, yeah, that Nicaraguan guy, he failed to make weight for that fight. So yeah, man, this is a guy that has lacked focus before. He's been able to get away with a lot of stuff lately because he's been fighting subpar opposition. And then when he fights guys that can actually hurt him, he dehydrates him or puts special clauses. So I'm telling you, I like this fight, but come on, don't come at me and tell me Tank Davis's fights have all been on the level or that he's some sort of elite killer. That's the way they're trying to make it out to be. Oh, and then on top of that, Sobers, like we were talking about earlier, he misses he throws the promotion under the bus. And then how did his fans try to spin it?
It's just gonna make it bigger for when he shows up for the press conference tomorrow. You don't get it? It's the mind games. He's getting more hyped up for tomorrow. So when everyone does finally see him, he'll be ready to put on a show for them, and it's all in the game. It's really genius. It's genius.
I mean, yeah, exactly. You have Tank Davis shitting on the promotion. He's telling you himself that, and this guy's interpreted without any evidence. Oh no, he's doing it on purpose to sell the fight. Like, wow, why do you get the impression that he's doing that? What evidence do you have? That's nothing but it's speculation on their part. It's really weird. The Tank Davis fans, for him, he can do no wrong. Tank Davis can do no wrong.
Which is funny, bro, because he fucks up a lot.
Why shit on the promotion that you're under to sell the fight? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's like Chief said. I mean, the guy's complaining about the promotion, but then doesn't do anything to help it by skipping on that thing there yesterday. Now he showed up to the press conference, but did you guys see the press conference, Chief, and Recognize?
I saw some of it. I saw highlights on Twitter, X, and he was just acting like a fucking weirdo, bro. I like his little exchange with Earl Spence. I'm telling you, bro, this dude is a bully, man. I noticed he calmed down when like his demeanor. He calmed down when Spence says, "Man, shut the fuck up. Like, shut up. Don't try that shit with me. Like that type of shit." He talked to him a little different.
Yeah, and then his fans too. I'm telling you, now that Wilder and Spence have lost a lot of luster, as expected. Now it's Gervonta Davis that a lot of these people are gravitating towards, and they seem to enjoy what you criticize him for. Recognize they seem to enjoy that type of behavior. They seem to thrive on it, and it's interesting because I was reading the comments in the live chat of that weigh-in or that press conference, and one guy said, "Frank Martin's team quiet. They scared." And I'm thinking, okay, so this guy, he's one of those classic guys that the more a guy barks, the more he thinks. Like he buys that bluff. In other words, if a guy barks at him, he's gonna go, "Oh my god, this guy's barking at me. He's he's real. He's about it. He's a tough guy." No, it's the quiet guys that are the tough guys. Generally, not all the time, but generally. So what do you make of that? People saying, "Oh man, they're quiet. That means they're scared."
No, opposite. He's there, right? So he's looking you in your eye, and that little flinch thing, he didn't flinch. He just put Tank is known for being unprofessional. So what he did was he put his hand up which is what you want to do. You put like his elbow up, so in case he does throw a punch, he's just punching his forearm, elbow.
Well, I got a question. How would you deal with that one? Because he tries to get in people's faces. How, what would you do in this?
It wouldn't be a good situation. We'll be fighting.
No, there you
Especially
go.
when I was younger. I'm thinking about as a younger man. Yeah, we would have been fighting. And
Yeah,
somebody
because
would have had to get fucked up. Like somebody would have had to get really fucked up. I'm not saying, you never know how a situation turns out. But if somebody's disrespecting, this is gonna happen to him. You'll see. It's gonna happen to him. He's gonna meet this one dude that the guy ain't guaranteeing he's gonna fuck. He's saying somebody has to get fucked up in this situation, and that shit could turn bad, really, really bad. I could see him in a situation one day where a fight gets canceled because of his attitude, because the fight turns off. It just turns out to be such a shit fest that somebody gets hurt. He's a bully. Tank is listen. He's got some good stuff about him, but he's overrated. He's got a bad attitude. He's a bully, and I just noticed certain things about him. Can he beat Frank Martin? I expect him to beat him. He should be able to beat him. Can Frank Martin pose problems? Absolutely, he will, because his mind is ready to be picked off. You know what I'm saying? He's very frustrated. He's trying to prove something. So if Frank Martin comes in there focused on capitalizing on some mistakes that Tank is gonna probably do out of the heat of the moment, I think he'll make it a very good fight, man. He'll make it a very good, interesting fight. Stand your ground with this dude.
Yeah, I'm expecting something interesting to happen. I think that's a high possibility. Super Sardonic in the chat, by the way, says that streets pay BDA protection money. No, I don't accept money from my community. I really don't do that unless it's absolutely necessary in certain situations, and only for me to give it to other people. Generally, I don't ask for money from the community, and I don't do that. I've said it before. I'm a bit of a something of what you would call something of an authority figure in my neighborhood. In fact, the other day I was walking to my favorite bakery, and the baker there, Don Vincenzo, he goes, Mr. the BDA, everyone always has to confer with me, always has to ask me for advice about what to do. So he asked me, he says, this boy wants to marry my daughter, and then he tells me who he is, and I go, yes, Don Vincenzo, I know him. He comes from a good family, good stock, hardworking. They've got a reputable business, travel agency, so I think your daughter's going to be okay, I give you my blessing for them to marry. He says, thank you, Mr. BDA. He gives me bread for free. He never allows me to pay for the product. So that's the type of relationship I have in my community, and I'm glad for it. I'm thankful for it. But anyway, that's besides the point. I wanted to talk about so the Tank Davis thing.
BDA.
Don BDA. I think you're making fun of me now by saying that. But what I wanted to say, I wanted to bring up something interesting too. Calvin Ford said, you ain't never heard Tank Davis talk this much. He used to be quiet all the time. And then Tank Davis goes, because Floyd talked too much. And I said, whoa. It seems like that relationship with now that Mayweather's no longer his de facto promoter, it seems like Tank Davis never really liked the guy. Well, what did you guys think about that whole relationship?
Yeah. I don't think Floyd likes him. I mean, Tank likes him. You might have liked him in the beginning. Look at this, Floyd taking an interest in me. I think as he got older, probably doesn't, I'm not going to necessarily fault him on that. But it's like, it goes to show you his mind is everywhere, right? Like, he's bringing up Floyd. He's trying to get into it with Spence. And he's just, the kid. Look, I kind of look at people's attitudes, and I can see where they could be frustrated. Because boxing is a mind game as well. So I'm telling you, man, if Frank comes in the right mind frame and he's in good shape and he's there to make it a competitive fight, it's there. He can make it happen. It's all up to him. See his durability, see what kind of shape he's in. He's there to make it a tough fight.
Is it possible that Tank Davis was overacting so much because he failed to show up at the grand rival last night or last evening, and maybe the PBC guys gave him an ear biting and said, "Hey, motherfucker, you better show up now and sell this fight," and that's why he was overacting? Is that possible?
I mean, it's possible, but I do believe, if he did all that, why wouldn't the PBC? Why wouldn't they, like let him know that they're disappointed with him and like, yo, you better do something. You better make up for this. And this is his way of making up for it,
Mm-hmm.
Which, like I said, man, goes into the mindset of a fighter. If this is you making up for it, get this boy frustrated, man. Get his ass frustrated. He'll make a mistake like he's making a mistake talking.
Right.
So what do you think about that sparring? BDA ain't recognized when Martin brought up that he said he clipped him, and he started saying Davis started holding and all that. Davis got real mad and was like, "No, you didn't clip me. You just caught me with a good shot. You didn't clip me." Like, you know what I mean? So he admitted he got caught real clean, but he didn't want to admit that he was hurt. Do you think that could play into this fight?
Yeah, if he tries to overdo too much, like in other words, he tries to, instead of letting the fight come to him, he's coming to Frank to try to embarrass him. I've always been a advocate for this because we talk about boxing. Like a lot of times when you try to sell out against a fighter that you even might be better than, that could be a mistake. It's why a lot of fighters don't do that. You know what I'm saying? It's why you don't disrespect the Devin Haney. You just come in there. I'm just going to use him for example. Disregarding all of your fight technique just to embarrass him. He might catch you with a big shot. You don't do that. So kind of lost my train of thought. But yeah, he could go in there. He can go in there and trying to do too much and get countered. Leave himself vulnerable for some big shots against a guy who's pretty fast too. He is pretty fast, Frank Martin.
He got some speed, he got some pop. I think he's gonna rock Davis.
He might. He's bigger than him.
Yeah.
He's naturally bigger than him.
There's rumors that there might be some sort of rehydration clause floating around, but I think Frank Martin said no. I don't know. That's what I heard. I haven't heard it directly from either guy. So I don't know if there would be some sort of either a rehydration clause or... Yeah, I think that's what I heard. Yeah, rehydration clause. But I remember weeks ago they were talking about how the IBF, or which one is it? The WBA? See, I don't even know which title organization is sanctioning this because I don't care. But as it pertains to this situation, I think they were saying that there might be a cap for same-day weigh-in fight. The WBA, yeah.
I think it's the WBA.
And I think then they said that there wasn't going to be one. But again, that doesn't preclude Tank Davis' team from putting one on Frank Martin exclusive or separate from what the WBA wants. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what comes out of this fight. Because again, we never knew Barrios had been saddled with a rehydration clause until he came out and said it after Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis. So that's about 2 years after he fought Tank Davis. So you never know, man. Things are kept under wraps sometimes in boxing. But here's the other thing I want to talk about. So when I watched that Tim Tszyu pay-per-view a couple of weeks ago, or rather months ago now, it looked like it was a downgrade production-wise from the Showtime days. And I mentioned that during the day after the fight. I said, look, the lighting looked off. It looked like they were lighting it with regular light bulbs, like household light bulbs. It looked a little bit too orangey. There wasn't any contrast really to differentiate from the crowd in the ring. Even the graphics didn't look all that well. I'll give him credit for the audio, that sounded okay, but even then, the lighting looked off. The video packages weren't as intricate as they used to be on Showtime, and that's because they lost Showtime was a big part of their technological infrastructure. They were the ones providing everything. Now they have to front the bill for that. The cameras, the truck with the transmitter, the satellite transmitter, everything they have to do, and it was a downgrade. And I have to wonder, do you guys think that the people inside the event, I'm talking the fighters, the promoters, do you think they're noticing that it's a bit of a downgrade quality-wise as it pertains to the telecast and the media packages that they're putting out?
Probably. Maybe that's why Tank is frustrated.
Oh, that's a good point, huh?
You know, maybe he's like, man, these fucking people, they suck. You know what I'm saying? They're not good at
Yeah,
No,
man,
man.
like,
Listen, I'm not saying that the kid doesn't have any right to be in a certain way. It's just the way he expresses himself. He comes off. It brings out his bad qualities, right? And he seems
right.
to be okay with that. But the promotion and all that stuff, like, yeah, come on, bro. The PPC sucks, bro. You know, I, their production, all that is bad. I mean, I still think maybe the zone's gonna step it up now because they're doing business with what's the guy's name? Turkey Al Akbar, whatever the fuck
Turkey and
his name is.
bologna.
I
Ah,
keep
come on.
forgetting. You know what I mean? That guy,
Right.
Al Sheik.
Sure.
So he's throwing a lot of money into it, so maybe it'll get better. But I think they're terrible. Like generally speaking, the zone's broadcast is horrible. Um, PBC is not too far from it. You know, there's some better guys there that do the broadcasting, but the production itself is pretty bad. And Tank wants to prove something that he's this big star, and he's probably saying to himself, "Man, these guys fucking, they suck in promoting me."
Yeah, I'm
Which he would
curious.
be right. He would be kind of right about that.
I'm curious to see how it looks, man. I'm really curious to see how the quality of the broadcast this coming Saturday. By the way, fellas, I'm going to be opening up the phone lines in case anybody wants to call in, give us their thoughts. Can Tank Davis carry American boxing? And if so, what can he do to improve the carrying of that gigantic institution? Make sure to call in. I'm going to be opening up right now. Chief, were you going to say something about the quality of the productions? I think I saw you unmute yourself there. Right. Now, okay, so
His silence speaks volumes.
that's right. He's telling me to go fuck myself, essentially. But what I wanted to say was, this. Okay, so listen again. This is a
You hear me
third.
now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, well, you go ahead and I'll jump back in.
No, go ahead, man. Because I was going to transition to something later.
Okay, so real quickly then, when it comes time for do the fighters notice? They might know some things when it comes to the promotion, but if they're really in the zone and focused, so long as like there's not a change in the locker room of but that's usually the venue itself that has that. So when it comes time to like the lights and everything else, they'll probably notice that on the replay, and then they'll say, "Wow, this doesn't look I don't look as good on screen. I look orange, like you were saying, like the contrast is off and everything else." When they're under the lights, if they're focused, they may not notice it. I know I usually didn't notice too many differences when I was coaching and fighting. When it came time for how everything looked until if there was any recording done of any kind, I would notice a different quality of, like you said, the production, or in our case, whose VHS camera was being used. But I don't think they'll notice it right away. But yeah, if he looks at this fight and it's under the same quality as the Tim Tszyu fight, he'll notice that and be like, "Hey, this is WTF."
But what I really okay. But what I also was mentioning too, or trying to focus on is in the build up to the fight. Are there certain perks too that get taken away? I'm pretty sure they're taking care of Tank Davis well to try to keep him happy. But are there certain things that they have to cut back on in terms of accommodations and all that, and that he might be noticing that as well, or other fighters might be noticing that, especially the lower level guys at the beginning of the undercard. Maybe hotel accommodations, transport, maybe in terms of tickets. Yeah.
How much they're getting paid? They will all notice that.
Exactly. You see, I'm gonna piggyback off what you said, right? So when you're getting overpaid, obviously when you're able to, book hotel rooms and all that stuff, plan for like your entourage, it just seems like a discount. But when you're paid, and I'm sure they get a lot of discounts too. But when those start ending and you're coming out of pocket and you're noticing that the pay's not there, yeah, these dudes get, especially when they're used to a certain thing, that'll trigger them. That'll trigger the immature mind to go out there and speak about it publicly. He might indirectly be like, the promotion here sucks. It could mean like, yeah, the way you guys are treating me sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like in his mind, that's his way. That's his way of showing his frustration.
Yeah, I mean,
In a way, it would be kind of like this.
It might not have been an issue with the PBC. It might not have been an issue with the venue, because again, that's more that the grand arrival and all that. That's really for the venue more than anything. So maybe they didn't give him enough tickets to distribute to his family and friends or something like that. You know, again, we're speculating, but obviously something made Tank unhappy, and there was a reason why he was so agitated today. We can only wonder.
Could have been making weight.
That too.
Well, I mean, that too. That's a big one.
In regards to the selling point and everything else, and the perks that we're talking about, it reminds me of the movie Jerry Maguire when they show up with the draft, and then when they leave, it's just Cuba Gooding Jr. and Tom Cruise, and just before they leave, Cuba says, "Was it just me, or didn't we just show up in a limo?" And they're getting in a taxi cab.
I mean,
I could see something like that.
Is it just me, or did we show up in a private limo and now we got to get our own Uber?
yeah, they're taking the bus. They're taking the public transportation. They're at the bus stop next to a fucking guy doing injections of certain substances that we're not going to mention here.
And depending where they're fighting at, right? Like whatever city they're in. Was it me, or we were like in a fucking beautiful neighborhood? Now we're in the middle of the hood, bro. What the fuck is going on?
There's a guy trying to pickpocket Tank Davis, but
it's like, these crackheads weren't around here when we came in. Why are they outside? What now?
I wanted to bring something up too. That this is the third straight episode we're doing in regards to Tank versus Frank Martin, and I'm trying to push for the fight. I really, wanted to do well, but there just doesn't seem to be any buzz for it. Even the Tank Davis fans are more concerned talking about Devin Haney and all those other guys that Tank Davis hasn't fought yet, as opposed to talking about how they're going. Whenever I see a Canelo fight, for example, I see people on Twitter posting the receipts that they just bought the pay-per-view. I never really see the same thing for Tank Davis's fights. Then on top of that, I'm looking at the odds for this fight, and I think I showed them on Monday, the first time we went live this week. Well, it's Wednesday, and check out the odds. They used to be at 6-1. Now Tank Davis is an 8-1 favorite. Do you guys think those odds are actually gonna? What's that?
So it seems like it's going up in favor of, usually come fight week, the underdog, if it's a competitive underdog, he starts gaining some momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're Vegas, that's what you want, right? That's what you would want. But that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. We lately we've been watching some big, some pretty hefty underdogs win the fight.
That's right.
To the fight. So that doesn't really say anything in terms of the result of the fight. You still gotta make that happen. I don't know. Tank is not. They're trying to make Tank a big box draw, and I'm not saying that he doesn't have that type of quality, but it's gonna come down to he needs the right dance partner. He's that guy. He needs that, and to an extent, all these guys do. But
sure,
he's not gonna sell. I think Chief was bringing it up. Even if you believe the more favorable, I guess that's what he meant. The more favorable talking point to Tank about his pay-per-view buys, it still doesn't crack over 300,000 outside of the Ryan Garcia fight. And he was talking about, and the only thing that I would add to this, but he brings up a good point. He's like Floyd and Manny in their first pay-per-view fights did over 300,000. The only thing that I would say to that, even though he's 100% right, was pay-per-view was the only avenue to see these fights at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Very good point. Very good point. There wasn't the streaming, the illegal.
Right.
There's a little bit of illegal streaming. I watched Floyd. I'm not gonna lie. I hope I don't get us in trouble. But I got a friend of mine showed me how to find some fights, and Floyd Mosley back in the day I found for free. I'm not a big fan of illegal streaming anymore, but I'll say the fact that I found ways to see things if money was tight back in the day. I was young in the military. But
you know what it is, Chief? What is that? Illegal streaming is it wasn't as prolific back in the days as it is today because of the internet and everything.
Well, the technology, like trying to do it, it would freeze up on you. You'd drop the feed. You'd have to start all over again. It wasn't like you could just put it on and it was just as good as watching the real thing. Sometimes you even had like an advertisement banner right in the middle of the freaking screen. So it wasn't like it was the best thing since sliced bread and you're still getting everything. You know, it was a few steps better than listening to the scrambled feed when you didn't have the pay-per-view box. And those of you that are my age know what that means. If you couldn't get the fight, if you didn't order it far enough in advance, you wouldn't get it, even if you had the box. So you'd have to listen to it. And it would have those freaking rainbow screens going all over the place, and you'd be able to hear it just fine, but you couldn't see a thing. The illegal streams were like B level above D level. That was as good as they were.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about because I never did that. I always pay for everything, and I will say that watching illegal streams
Bullshit.
is all right. Well, listen, the point is this. So, hey, by the way, Frank Martin, if you put enough money on here for a stoppage, I think the odds are about like 10,000 or 1,000, excuse me, 1,000 to 1 or something extravagant like that. So, might not be a bad idea to put some money on it. You never know. You just never know. Frank Martin can crack. Although I do think Tank Davis has a better chin than people give him credit for, even though, you know, he's fought his share of punchers, even though he's dehydrated most of them. But he did get hurt against Rolly Romero. He got stunned and he went to the ground. He got stunned against Ryan Garcia. Mario Barrios stunned him with the left hook. So you never know. Maybe Frank Martin could get something done. I want to remind people that the phone lines are open in case you want to call in, give us your thoughts on the Tank Davis situation. Can he carry American boxing? Because right now, some of the stars of yesteryear are on their way out, and it's going to take a while before some of the up-and-comers like Abdullah Mason, who else? Keyshawn Davis, if they even become stars, it's going to take a while to see if they can even get there. So for the moment, it's Tank Davis. And I want to hear from people out there whether you guys think, and I also want to hear, are you going to buy the fight? I want to see some receipts too, man. I mean, because everyone talks a big game about Tank Davis, the face of boxing, this and that. And I never see people posting receipts on Twitter the way they do with Canelo fights. So very interested in that. Want to read a super chat?
Show your receipts, man.
That's right. Want to read a super chat here from Rider of the Storm. Shout out to Rider of the Storm. Says Tank will never be a big draw in the hood. Too much sugar in his tank. Pun intended. Must be a DMV thing. Tank will KO Frank with his fairy dust. Once you bring up fairy, zesty, sugar, I mean, come on. But I do agree that there's a certain element, like usually. And look, Tank Davis does appear to do some things. I'm not saying he's a homosexual, but he does things that a homosexual would do. Now, take that as you will. Make of that what you will, rather. I don't know. But usually, a guy like him, who is an Afro-Anglo, so he's a minority, and who acts zesty or downright comes out as a homosexual, I think nowadays, if you're a minority and you're a homosexual, you're a star. Look at how many people are getting TV deals now as showrunners or writers on TV because they're black lesbians or something, or black trans. So if he comes out as a black homosexual, an Afro-Anglo homosexual, it could pay dividends for him. Well, what do you guys think? Am I?
So you're saying that maybe he should be thinking about wearing a bonnet to the ring?
Maybe he should start thinking about coming out. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
What does anyone else have?
Excuse me.
What does anyone else think about that?
No comment. They don't want to comment. Hey, you know, that night you got Subriel Matias against Paro. I think I like that fight more.
You think you like that fight, or you like that fight?
I think I'm more interested in that fight.
And it's if you got your DAZN subscription, it's free with it. You don't have to pay extra. Which, by the way, this pay-per-view, at least here in Canada, it's there's, like I said, there's no showtime and they're not showing it on Amazon Canada. So if when I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna have to watch it on payperview.com. These motherfuckers, it's $74.99. You go, okay, that's not bad. They put on, I think, some sort of a $10 HD fee or something, and then a $25 surcharge, which they call service fees. So it's $100 essentially.
Yeah.
To watch Tank Davis versus Frank Martin. I'm telling you, if I didn't have a show and I didn't have generous contributions from people like Rider of the Storm and everyone else who is a BDA member and all that, I don't know if I'd be willing to buy these types of fights, especially with today's economy. It puts into perspective how important money can be for other things, and not for buying
No,
fights.
BDA, you'll pay for it. Wink, wink. All right, you'll pay
Wait
for
a
it.
minute. What are you trying to say here? What are you intimating?
No, I'm just saying you're gonna watch. You're gonna watch it. You're gonna do the right thing. You're gonna pay for it.
Hey, listen.
Wink.
I always do the right thing. You know that, I recognize. But before we get to Subriel Matias, whom we
Oh, I
haven't
don't
talked
know.
about.
I don't. I wouldn't say. I want to say
Yeah,
you always do the right thing. I wouldn't say that, but
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
not always. Yeah, of
generally.
course. I'm not a saint yet.
we all know that I'm the degenerate here.
There you go. Yeah, everyone knows that. I mean, come on. The guy's trying to get into fistfights with Fernando Vargas. I mean, come on. What's that about?
Look, if he had his hand on your wife's hip, you'd do the same thing.
I mean, I don't know why you would get it.
That's unacceptable.
I don't want to
But
blame
yeah,
you.
she's my
I don't
girlfriend
want to
back
blame
then. She's
you.
my girlfriend back then.
Chief, I don't want to put the blame on you, but why would you put yourself in a situation where your significant other is that close to another man? I keep my wife like a Muslim. She's all covered up. She doesn't leave the house unless I tell her to, and unless she's accompanied by an escort in case I'm not there. That's the way you do it. That's the way you do it. Before we get to Subriel Matias, by the way, we got a phone call here, so let's get down to the phone lines here. Let's go to 713. 713, you're on the air. 713, what's on your mind?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. What's up?
Hello? Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think what it's showing that it takes a good fighter. But as far as superstar, he has to have a real promoter to help him with as far as good matchmaking. I would if I was him, I'd consider all of them at this point. Top Rank, Matchroom, Golden Boy. But I don't think it's showing now with this. I got Amazon Prime because I get packages delivered, and I haven't seen a promotional thing on my Amazon Prime on my feed. But yeah, I don't think he's almost 30. That's another thing. He's almost 30. I think PVC was standing behind Arrow, but now that HBO and Showtime are gone, it really impacted boxing in not a good way. But that's my thoughts, man. Thanks for having me on the show. Bye.
No problem, man. Thank you for your call there. And,
am I gonna watch the fight at this restaurant called Bombshells or Locos? I'm in Houston anyway. Somebody hears me, I'll be one of those two locations. Take it easy.
All right.
Bye.
All right, thank you for your call, man. Take it easy, man. All right, so there's one person that's at least gonna go see it at a bar. So he spent, bars. I don't know if people know this. For those of you,
Bar's good enough because he'll basically the bar will buy the fight.
Yeah, exactly.
They might charge a cover charge like for that. So he's technically paying for the fight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they have to pay, if you're an establishment, commercial establishment, you have to pay a license to be able to carry the fight, and that's why some bars they do that. They charge you a cover fee. They never charged me, by the way, because I knew the guy. So he's like, no, BDA, you don't pay. I go, all right. But most people, yeah, you have to pay, and that's how they, you're essentially you're buying the fight, you're contributing to it. So that's why at least this guy. I mean, this guy's going to go watch it, so that's like buying it, as far as I'm concerned. The other thing I wanted to talk about is before we get back, okay, so let's take a small pause away from this whole Tank Davis carrying American boxing or whether he can do it, and briefly talk about that, the Subriel Matias fight. Recognize you had some thoughts on that?
I really like that fight, man. I in terms of like, Paro's a tough dude, man. He's a tough fucking dude. Some of the highlights, I think I watched maybe one whole fight of his. But the one thing about him, man, he's gritty. He's got decent power. I just like this fight. It's in Puerto Rico, so it's we obviously know who they want to win, and it might be more of a showcase fight. But a guy like Paro is gonna come in there. He's gonna give you your best effort. And the thing about Subriel gets hit. He's one of those. I'm willing to stand in there and bang it out with you just to get my knockout.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I really like that fight. It goes to show you how boxing, in terms of its pure just excitement level, a lot of times these guys are not the big household. Most of the time, I would say, they're not the big household names. It's these guys that kind of back-footed. And it goes to show you who they're promoting more. But yeah, no, I really like this fight. It's Paro's undefeated. He's gamed. He's going into PR, and I know he's coming in there to win, and I just love Subriel.
Now,
I still say they're messing up his fucking. They missed an opportunity with his fucking nickname. He should be called El Machetero, the machete.
That's a good nickname.
Look how
because,
he swings at you. He's swinging at you like with a machete, bro. That's what he's doing.
But not only that, he shows up with the ski mask on, and he looks like one of the guys that you would see in the more dangerous parts of Puerto Rico wielding machete. I mean, you're right, and then he's killed people on top of that. Well, not people, but I mean, he killed somebody in the ring. This guy's a real killer.
Yeah, I think they missed out, man. I don't know.
I think they.
I sent him something on Instagram, and I think I got banned.
What?
Yeah, I swear to God, I try to comment. I can't comment on his thing. Like he has like a promoter, and there was some type of like questionnaire about like suggestions for Subriel, and I think I just threw in there, hey man, why don't you call this dude the machete, El Machetero?
And they banned you for that.
Never got a response back. Well, I don't know that for a fact, but I never got a response back, and I tried to comment on something else, and it didn't go through.
Yeah, they banned you, man. Now, you know what they're gonna do? They stole you. They're gonna steal your idea, and they banned you to erase any record that you were the one that brought it up. That's what they do. That's how they do it, man. I've had my ideas stolen before. That's the way they do it, man. But hey, listen, I don't fret, man, because I got a million, man. That's it's no problem for me. Every day I come up with new ideas. But recognize, you know what I like about Subriel Matias, El Machetero, is he reminds me a little bit of Glenn Johnson. He's got a good active guard. He'll let guys shoot their load, their big shots. He'll take him if he has to.
Yeah.
And then when they're done, he comes back. And then when they shoot, he blocks, takes him. He comes back. That's how he wears guys down. But do you think he's being a tad overrated here?
Of course. Absolutely.
We're talking about Matias?
Yeah, Subriel Matias can be beat. He can be beat. I tell people this.
He's been beaten. Yeah.
Ryan Garcia would beat him if he came in focus, because he's going to be open for that big left, and he's going to get caught with a big shot. Now, if he comes in the way he came in against Devin Haney, he's going to get beat up. Obviously, you know what I'm saying. He if you know boxing, he more likely will get outworked and beat up. But if he comes in with a big game plan, sort of like Duarte-ish type of fight, I think that he'll end up catching him with a big shot, and more than likely Subriel will not recover. So he's there to be beaten. The thing about Subriel is this: that dude's willpower and determination is elite. It's very elite.
Right.
He makes up for those, and it's part of his game plan. If I had to imagine, it's a dangerous game plan, but it's like I'm willing to let you let off your shots, and I'm banking that my shots are gonna hurt you more, and I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna disorientate you before you do it to me. If that makes sense,
Isn't that what you used to do? Isn't that what you used to do in the gym? Like you would just let people punch you, and you're like, "Oh, that's it. Okay, my turn."
Yeah, exactly. And I used to growl too.
Oh man.
Yeah, so that was pretty scary. That was a scary dude.
All right, now, but you know why I asked that he might be overrated is because you look at his record. Again, if you were just a casual and for the first time, you don't know who Matias is, and you look at his record, you go, whoa, he's beaten a couple of undefeated guys back to back. But undefeated oftentimes means untested. And in this case, that's what he got.
He was beating undefeated like prospects like himself.
Right,
which
exactly.
is good. Yeah, which is good, right? Like if you want to beat up your peers, but he's had some bad moments. Let's not forget the guy who beat him.
Mm-hmm.
What was his guy's name? I mean,
Ananian.
he revenged him and stopped him. But bro, remember how he had this dude on the ropes, Matias? You could have stopped that fight. That was reminiscent of what happened between Usyk and Fury.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You could have stopped that fight. A referee could have been like, nah, you taking too much punishment, bro. You fucked up.
Yeah.
So that's what makes him entertaining. That's what makes him entertaining.
But that's what I'm saying, and I don't want to stereotype here, but he's beaten a lot of Eastern European and Central Asians who are untested. Yeah, good amateur records and all that, but hey, man, that's 3 minutes. Three-minute rounds. I'm talking professional ranks here, and he uses that to his advantage. The fact that he knows these guys are front runners, and he can take them out later on. And again, I'm not completely discounting those wins, but what I'm saying is, he's already had a loss. He's 32 years old, by the way, so he's just a little bit past his physical peak here. And but I don't know if Paro is that guy because again, he's relatively untested too. He beat Montana Love, who some people would refer to as an Ameribomb. People like to say Eurobomb. Well, this guy was an Ameribomb, and he beat another undefeated guy. But he fought a fellow Boricua there, recognized of yours, on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Woodley too, and he struggled mightily in that fight. He got dropped. Now, granted, that was about 2 years ago. He might have improved by leaps and bounds since then, but it's still, he's fighting a guy, El Machetero, in other words. Can he step up?
Look, he's gamed. He's a game fighter. You know what I'm saying? You got to beat the fight out of him, which is going to make and I'm not saying you can't. Obviously, you could if you're Super Miguel Matias, but you got to do it. That's what's going to make the fight interesting. Liam Paro's he's going to bring the fight to him. You saw against Montana Love, he just exposed him because he doesn't have that grit that Paro has. So it makes for a good fight. Yeah, I'm not overrating him, but it's just an interesting fight. Their styles kind of mesh together for an explosive fight.
I got Paro in that fight, bro. I think he.
Oh shit! You see, look at that. You got Sobers going with Paro.
Well, I'd like to hear. I'd like to hear your explanation, Sobers, but you're breaking up, man. You're back on the phone.
Yeah, pay your bill.
Look at
that. Be back.
No, you won't be back. You won't be back. You got one shot, buddy, and you blew it. You blew it.
Shot, you blew it.
Yeah.
You blew it.
Mouth spaghetti.
But
did he just order spaghetti?
Yeah, I think that's what he did.
You guys said he had one chance and he blew it, and he was going. It sounded like he was going back to the 8 Mile soundtrack.
Oh,
well, I was referencing Copland with Robert De Niro. You had a chance to be a cop, and you blew it. But
you blew it.
But what were you gonna say there, Sobers?
I can't say. I gotta reset my connection.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I want to invite people to hit the like in the meantime. Hit the like. The phone lines are open in case you want to call in. Make sure to do that. The other thing that I wanted to mention was in regards to Paro. I was rewatching that Montana Love fight, and Montana Love's best punch or more consistent punch in that one was a jab. And he hit Paro a couple of times with it, and Paro looked like he was swelling up already. And I'm thinking, oh boy, I think he's got that dick skin. He's got that dick skin, which is, thin skin. And it doesn't seem to take much to cut him or swell him up. So in Matias, you got a machetero who will not stop swinging, and he does have heavy hands. So I'm a little trepidatious for Paro in that fight. I think if he gets hit with enough shots, I think his fate might just get all swollen up, like he's been attacked by a swarm of bees or something. So that's something that's against him. That might be maybe that's indicative of him struggling to make weight, because once you rehydrate too quickly up with water, you tend to swell up from punches. I don't know. It's I'm speculating here. But yeah, okay. So that's the fight right there. The Paro versus Matias. It's gonna be interesting, man. It's gonna be interesting. Matias is with Matchroom now, so he's no longer with the sinking ship PBC. So he should be able to make something happen if he can walk away from this one. Again, I'm gonna just look at his record just to refresh my memory. So when he beat Dadashev, that's the guy that unfortunately he ended up killing. He was 13-0.
Yeah.
Then he fought Jukumbayev, aka Jambalaya, who was 18-0. Then he fought Jeremias Nicolas Ponce, who was Argentinian, who was 30-0. Then in his last bout, he fought Ergashev, who was 23-0. Now he's taking on Pajaro, who's 24-0. I mean, yeah, okay, these guys are unproven, but goddamn, they're fucking undefeated, man. So I gotta give him credit.
He's fighting guys who never lost a professional fight.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can
There
you hear
is
me okay
that.
now, BDA?
Yeah, I can hear you, man.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, guys. My bad.
That's all right, man. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna jump what I was trying to say about Liam Paro and Matias. Like you were saying about Matias' opponents, bro. A lot of them just been kind of coming in with a game plan of trying to blast Matias out of there. They have a good first 4 rounds, and then they stop or he knocks them. Like he's just making them all quit on the stool because he's hitting them too hard, and they're just gassing out. He might say he's on the European Eurobum tour, right? That's
Oh.
what they said Canelo was on. No, but I wouldn't say that. I'm just talking shit, right? But I do think Matias is his style, bro. I don't want to call him a flat-footed Mexican, but you say he's a flat-footed Puerto Rican, bro. He kind of plods,
He is,
you know,
and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but he is. I don't say
yeah,
he just doesn't waste any movements. He's putting everything into. He's gambling. Is what he's doing. Sobers. He's a gambler. He's like toe to toe. Let's just fight in the phone booth. Let's see who comes out of this. And he's the one
yeah,
that's been coming out of it lately. You know what I'm saying? Or all of it except maybe one time.
yeah, yeah. And everyone who's been fighting him,
The one time that he doesn't, he fights that guy again, and then he knocks him out.
right?
You know what I'm saying?
I
Like
was
the
gonna
guy.
say, bro. Everybody who's been coming to see him, bro, has been coming to do that with him, right? I don't think Liam Paro's gonna come in with that game plan. He's gonna he's gonna try to move around a little bit. I don't think he's gonna run, but I think he's gonna stick and move. And I think Paro has the skills to do that. And I think Matias, bro, I think he's just been fed these guys that want to just beat the shit out of him. He's gonna have a hard. I think he's gonna struggle with Paro, dude. I'm not saying that he can't beat him, but I think Paro can. I think Paro can outbox him, bro. And I think Teofimo Lopez could have done it too. But it looks like I think Leo Pearl's gonna get to him first. You know, like the first real guy that can move him, step and move with him. I think was gonna be the one who could beat him. But none of these guys want to step up, and Paro does. So we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see indeed, man. We shall see. Again, Matias has beaten his share of undefeated southpaws, but Paro is longer, I believe. He might be able to maintain that range and keep Matias turning. We'll see. Let's go to a phone call and then we'll continue on this conversation here. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like, hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. We're at 73 likes. Let's get it up to 90. At least 90, fellas. Come on. So 17 people hit that like. Otherwise, I'm going to be dipping into some reading material here that you might enjoy. And no boxing. All right, let's go to the phone.
He's going to read Shakespeare. He's going to read you Shakespeare.
So maybe. Why not?
You guys make it short.
Why not? Let's go to a phone call here. Let's go to 410. 410. You're on the air. 410. What's on your mind?
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Oh, Jerry. What's up, man?
Hey, man.
Jerry.
Tank Davis. No, not big enough to carry the sport in American boxing. Absolutely not. He's not nearly the star or the attraction that, they promote him to be. Of course, they're trying to sell that. Well, the reality is, outside of the pay-per-view with Ryan Garcia, which they were quick to release the pay-per-view numbers with, if you try to find the other pay-per-view numbers, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. You can't find them. There's a reason for that. They were low. Tank's an exciting fighter. I give him that. He's an exciting guy. He does have single punch KO power, and that's all well and good, but no. And with the Saudis, what an unlikely savior they are for boxing, because boxing needs overhauled, and I'm hearing rumors that they're looking to basically take over boxing and overhaul it. Just what it needs. Just exactly what it needs. The rankings, they need to mean something. Making weight needs to mean something. This sport has gotten so far away from an organized involvement that it's taken the fans out of the picture. You got guys getting knocked out in lower divisions, moving up, and the next fight fighting for the title after getting knocked the fuck out, and a lower division coming straight off of that. It's bullshit. It needs to be restored. Drastic, sweeping changes need to be made. And while I'm not going to like the fact, because, America has a long tradition with boxing from a nostalgic point, but I think the Saudis, they have a more clear understanding of what's more sport and competition as opposed to popularity contest.
Well, let me ask you about that. In regards to Tank Davis, first of all, you're a guy that you say you used to support him, but that he's been getting on your nerves lately with some of his decisions. If you had to draw up a game plan for him to say, listen, you're selling well at the gate, but you're not selling well pay-per-views, you need to get over the hump. What do you think he needs to do to get over that hump?
Well, it's obvious. I mean, the guy hasn't fought the top guys around him. And this is why the rankings are just bullshit. One organization won't rank who the top guys are, the real top guys. This won't rank them. You look and see the WBC number one contender won't be ranked in the WBA's top 10. It's just bullshit. It's just popularity. It's just, it is what it is, and it needs to be more organized. Tank can do really what he can do. He can fight the guys that his promoter puts in front of him. But it doesn't help. You've seen the podcast where they asked him, Tank, how many times have you asked for these top guys? Now, keep in mind, this is a guy that's a 135-pound fighter at the top of the division. He and his promoters claim he's the man, and he's just the top fucking dog. And they ask him, well, how many times have you asked for these guys? And out of his own mouth, he says, to be honest, never.
No.
Yep.
How the fuck does that even happen where you're a professional prize fighter fighting at 135? You got all this hype for being a man, and you ain't never fucking talked to your promoter about fighting those other guys? Teo Lopez, Devin Haney, this one, Loma, never? Come on, man.
Well, his fans say that he doesn't care about the belts. All roads lead to him. They need to come to see him. Every other fighter out there needs to go see him. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, you hear people say, if you want to fight Tank, you got to sign with the PBC. Well, Ryan Garcia didn't have to sign with the PBC, so that's fucking out the window. If Tank's a 135-pound fighter, bullshit. He fought at 140 like 3 years ago, not just now. He's constantly talking about, and he's knocking out heavyweights and light heavyweights. He's fought at 140. Get the fuck out of here. His promoter said, we're going to match him with in-house fighters. We're not going to do it. They're basically fucking telling you. At least I give them that. They kind of really aren't hiding it. Now, I like Tank. To be honest with you, I might pick him by KO against any of these fucking guys. I might. But I'm tired of wondering about it. The only guy he's fought that anybody really, really wanted to see him fight was Ryan, but he brought him down to 136. He put a rehydration clause. It's a little bit of an asterisk. He got to give him credit, but it's a little bit of an asterisk there for me. I'm tired of the hand-picked matchmaking. It's time to fucking, find out if this guy's really as good as he appears to be or no.
I agree.
I remember him coming out of the amateurs when I became aware of him. He was known for being like just explosive, even as an amateur. You would think a guy like that who shows that he can knock guys out with one punch, like Jerry said, he does have that one punch type of KO. You would think a guy like that would be easy to sell, but it hasn't been that. And it makes you wonder, that interview, that podcast Jerry spoke on, when they asked him, how many of these fighters, these top guys, you called out or you responded to or you try to make a fight with. And he said, to be honest, none.
Yeah.
That's what Jerry said, yeah. Never. How the fuck does that even happen, dude? I mean, you're going to say you're being honest and you say never? You never fucking, when you were in the gym, said to your promoter, man, I'm going to kick Devin Haney's ass, or, I love to fight Teo. Never? Get the fuck out of here. I don't know what to make of it, man. I mean, it sucks because Tank's had, I think, 5 pay-per-views. I bought them all, even though the only one I thought might be competitive was Pitbull Cruz and Ryan. But the other ones, I didn't even think they'd be competitive, but I bought them anyway to support them. I'm from Baltimore, and I've known about Tank for a long time. And I don't necessarily blame him because he's the fighter. Fighters don't have a lot of say, really. I mean, a Canelo Alvarez, sure, an AJ, sure, but I don't know if Tank has a whole lot of say. He's not the star that they promote him as. That's just how they're trying to promote him. You know what I mean? But anyway,
Jerry, you're from Jerry, you're from Baltimore, right?
Yes, sir.
You're from when you heard about Tank, and maybe you've even seen him, what was the first thing that you heard and came away with?
Oh, well, there's been a lot of buzz about him. I mean, I kind of known about Tank. He was a local legend around here before he even turned pro. I kind of knew about him before maybe even fucking Adrian Broner did, because I keep on track on boxing, and he's from Baltimore. He used to train down in the city, and he grew up about 15 minutes where I grew up. Now, don't get me wrong, man. I'm a Tank fan, but I'm just tired of wondering about how would he do against the top guys, not just and Frank Martin.
He was known for being
a solid fighter,
right? Like that was.
Oh yeah, of course. He's a KO puncher. He's an exciting fighter.
Yeah.
He's the best puncher at 135 that I've ever seen. The only one that comes close is Duran, and I think Tank, as far as one-punch power, probably even edges Duran. He's a monstrous puncher at that weight.
That's saying something.
At least in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, now hold on.
Well,
Before we go,
I get what you're saying.
Before we move, because we got to move on here. But Jerry, what's your prediction then for this weekend? Tank Davis, Frank Martin.
Yeah, I'm picking Tank by late stoppage. It's hard not to. That's all he does. He stops guys in the second half of fights. They outbox him for a while. Not horribly outbox him, but they outbox him a little bit. But eventually he gets to them. And until he stops doing that, that's going to be my pick with him, with pretty much anybody. Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, any fucking body. Yeah, I think he stops most guys in the second half of the fight, just like he's doing. But like I say, I'm just tired of wondering. Thinking it, and it happening, we know. We've seen enough fights to know. I could easily be wrong about him stopping Lopez. We got to see it.
There
you
go,
man.
man.
Thanks for taking my call, guys.
All right, thank you for calling in, Jerry. Take it easy out there.
Thanks.
All right, let's go to the phone call here. Let's go to... by the way, where are we with the likes? Hold on a second. I told people to get it up to 90 likes. We're at 84. So it seems like people are just begging for me to stop the show and start talking about something else. That's the way it seems like to me. I don't know. You guys in the chat, let me know if maybe I misunderstood the situation. Maybe I misread it. Maybe I'm the asshole. So if that's the case, I want to see it go up to 90. I want to see 5 people hit that like button so we can get it up to 90. Otherwise, I got Taoism, a beginner's guide.
Just go to the bookshelf and take out Mein Kampf. Start reading chapter 1.
I lent it to a Jimmy, so unfortunately I don't have it. But okay, there you go. 92 likes. 92 likes. All right, there we go. We got another phone call then. Let's go to who's here? 321. 321. You're on the air. 321. What's on your mind? You're on the air. 321. Go ahead, 321. What's up?
En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. You already know, BDA. You already know. Quantum Raw Conversations coming right through to give my prediction up in this piece. How you been, BDA?
I've been fantastic. Hope you do fantastic as well, man.
Yeah, you already know this. You already know. Because I'm getting the order ready. You know what I'm saying? We getting the order ready. Hit the like. You guys already know the routine. You already know how Mean Gene goes down in these blue jeans. And those lights light up. No Michael Jackson. Or P. Diddy. Yeah, so, all right. So, I was seeing that the guy was saying, everybody's saying late stoppage. We talking about Tank Davis. Yo, bless the people on the phone call. Bless the chat. What's going on? I can't read what's going on because it's not on my screen on my TV. But I can tell you this. Whoever's saying what up, yo, what up, Pigeon? What up, everybody in the chat? You guys already know if you haven't subscribed, this is where to subscribe. Let's get straight to what it is. Here we go. No Devin Haney punch. Ready?
Thanks for
All
calling
right,
in,
so
buddy.
this is my
We'll talk to you
prediction.
later. Bye.
So, yeah, so check it out. This is my prediction. I say, what's going on? I say my prediction is this. Quantum! Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. My prediction is it should be late stoppage. I say not ninth, though. Everybody's predicting it's going to be that soon. But I think that Frank Martin, in the first round, we're going to see how he's going to deal with those lights. And I think we're giving him credit, but I think that it's starting to break him. Like the moment, I think Frank will buckle in the moment, and I believe Tank can knock this dude out before 8 rounds, clean knockout, because I feel like he's just not he's not built for that stage yet. And then the experience, I think Tank will set up the trap. I think 8th round knockout, possibly a body shot, we can say. David Benavidez, hold on, get your order ready. David Benavidez, who I got is just to string this dude. I don't see how this dude's going to stand in front of him. I know it's another weight class, but since it's another weight class, to me, I can tell you this. You have to understand that David Benavidez can handle what's in front of him depending on what is the opposition. Now, the opposition to me is this weight class too much? I don't think so. I think that David Benavidez is going to fit into this weight class fantastically. And I think he can stop this dude within 5 rounds. Yeah, I said it. 5 rounds.
Wow. All right. So hey, that's okay. So Quantum Rob is going quantum here and giving us the straight predictions right there. Well, that's good, Quantum.
You already know.
I didn't know actually, but now that you said it, yeah, now I know. So listen, Quantum, good to hear from you. Don't forget, might be doing the Open Lines Friday, so hopefully you show up and enlighten us further on some of these fights. As for the moment, we do have to go, but thank you for calling in, and call back next time, all right, man?
All right, for everybody, bless the chat, bless you, BDA, in the nombre de Padre, Hijo, Espíritu Santo. Hit the like, subscribe if you've never been here. Yo, be safe, my nigga.
All right, take it easy, man. Did he just call me the N-word? He just snuck it there at the end. He's going to get canceled like that woman on Twitter who she made a lot of waves.
I mean, he should have been canceled a long time ago if you know what he did.
You saying his life should have been canceled? Is that what you're saying? Come on, recognize.
No, I don't mean it like that. Come on, man.
Okay.
I don't. God bless Quantum Rob. God bless him.
There you go. God bless him.
Whatever.
Nah, come on, Pete. Not you too, man. What's the matter with you?
Let's just keep going.
What else was I going to say then about this? Where were we at? Okay, so yeah, we Tank Davis. So here's the thing then. I'm asking whether Tank Davis can carry American boxing. But in order to carry American boxing, you really need to have a support group behind that. And that's really the problem with Tank Davis right now. He's with the floundering PBC organization. And that's the other thing. Let's talk about that. When that Amazon deal was announced a couple of months ago, people were saying, man, Amazon has millions of subscribers, so they have a lot of reach, more than ESPN or, like the Zone, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be fantastic. Well, so far they've had 2 cards, one of which they had to co-promote with Golden Boy Promotions. So, guys, what's going on here? We're in the middle of the year now, 6 months into 2024. We haven't heard any more announcements. Well, what's going to happen with the PBC, you think, and that Amazon deal?
It seems like they're riding with Tank, and I don't know how many fights Tank's going to have a year when he's averaging one every year and a half or whatever.
Yeah, one every year to year and a half.
Yeah, so it's like, listen, I get it trying to sell Tank. He could be entertaining as a fighter, but if you're asking me just purely on the PBC, if you're banking it on just one guy who's not an explosive seller. He's not Canelo. He's not one of these big names like that, or at least not yet. And maybe he never will be. But that's not That's not a fucking game plan of success. It can't be.
What else do they have that's really box office drawing that's really going to make people flock into this and make Jeff Bezos or his company say, hey, you know what? That was such a great deal. Not only are we going to re-sign you, we're going to give you a bonus next time.
Yeah. I mean, but that's what I'm saying is dwindling stars. Errol Spence looks like he's half out of the game. Deontay Wilder's no longer fighting on the PBC platforms, and he just recently got knocked out. Something awful. Who's the PBC have? Jermell Charlo, who was never that much of a draw either.
So it's kind of like this. I want to put it in perspective. BDA, how long have you allowed me to be part of this show? Since about 2019, right?
Yes, and I reluctantly agreed to. But go ahead.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I'm kidding. Okay.
But anyway, but 2019, so 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, we're about 5 years. We're half a decade, right? The boxing rant was saying back then that PBC's welterweight stable was an aging group of fighters half a decade ago. I just wanted to put that in perspective of what do they have. Like, has anyone even heard from the guy in a way knocked out? I can't remember his name right now.
Fulton.
Has anyone even heard from Fulton? You know, this is the level of where it's at. I mean, when Don King was at his peak with a whole bunch of fighters and he signed everybody, guys like William Joppy and Keith Holmes were fighting once a year because he just had too much of a stable and not enough platforms to put him on because he was solely on Showtime. They did the exact same thing. They did literally the exact same thing because they signed a huge amount of fighters, did the same even network, and they just don't have but they had no capital. Don King actually had capital of his own. Al Heyman obviously did not, because when it came time to trying to make the Alvarez-Benavidez fight, they didn't have the money to offer Canelo. So they literally didn't have the capital, even though Don King did. Now, sounds like I'm ranting. Here's kind of where it goes. We go back to the beginning of where I said that 5 years ago they had an aging stable of fighters. Now we're 5 years later, and they've got nothing up and coming with any new talent that's really giving everyone go, oh, I'm looking forward to that guy coming up and the development of that guy. And they have a network that's not going to say, wow, you did so great this time. We can't wait to sign you to an extension, because what are you offering?
Exactly.
You're offering Tank Davis, he's on the right side of 30 today, but he won't be when the contract's up. When the contract's up, he'll be 32 or possibly 31 towards 32 or 32 towards 33 if he doesn't lose.
Well, and that's the other thing, though, is that's the other thing. It's first of all, the money. They're putting up their own money now, and you see what happens sometimes when these people have to put up their own money. Like Don King, apparently that Broner versus Blair Cobbs fight, it looked horrendous. It looked like a 1980s public access show production. The cameras had horrible quality. The lighting was awful. The audio engineering was horrible. These guys are the announcers are talking, and it's extremely low. You hear the crowd all of a sudden amp up, the volume amp ups, completely drowns the announcers. It was just horrendous. So you're seeing something similar with the PBC. At least the PBC kind of looks professional. But even then, it's a downgrade from what Showtime, Fox Sports, and all that used to do. And that's the other thing. If you're the PBC, you're trying to get, Rick Glacier has said that apparently they've been trying to get somebody to front the money for them, and nobody's buying it because they've seen all the networks that they've gone through. HBO, Showtime, Fox, ESPN, NBC, which Spike, thank you, yeah. I mean, come on, man. Who's gonna put up their money for this? No, like what's Al Heyman's silver tongue can only get you so far, or get him so far. So I don't know. By the way, I think we have. Is that the pigeon? That's not the pigeon. That's well, you guys can't see it, but it's the same guy with the cock. I think that's Dora who's putting up cock pictures. Dora, is that you? I think that is you, and I think that's your favorite collection right there. From your personal collection, man. By the way, he gave me the name of the old guy there that's getting fucked by those black cocks, and he like, oh yeah, look it up. I'm like, why would I look that up? It's like, what you think that's how I'm going to spend the rest of my day after the show? I was like, oh, let me look up this old guy who's sucking cock. Come on. All right, he left apparently. All right, shout out to Dora for jumping in. What else was going to say here? Well, yeah, I mean, that's about it, man. I mean, what else can we say about the PBC? People keep saying, "Oh, you guys always say that they're gonna go down this year, and they never do." I never say the specific time when they're gonna go down. All I said was reiterating what Bucho said a couple of months ago: was compare the PBC where they are now to where they were 2 years ago, or even a year ago at least. Showtime was fronting them the money. But they were doing these overpriced pay-per-views that shouldn't have. I mean, I remember the last year when Showtime had Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis on pay-per-view. They had Benavidez versus Plant on pay-per-view, and then they had Crawford Spence pay-per-view. And these people going, haha, you thought the PBC was dying. What's up with that? Yeah, they're putting these fights on pay-per-view. And I'd love to know whether they broke even with Crawford Spence. Because apparently they had to pay those guys exorbitant fees, and they did it around 500,000 pay-per-view buys. So how the fuck did they make back all that money that they had to pay Crawford and Spence, and then on top of the undercard?
It was definitely short of $1 million. So, I mean, some sites were stating, well above 500,000 between like 7 to 8, but still, that's well short of $1 million to pay two guys 8 figures each.
Mm-hmm.
According to what some of the payouts, and of course, I don't cite everything that I look up anymore, so I don't know how reliable all of my sources are. Like they used to be, but the figures were they were supposedly splitting a $20 million payday plus back in money. Well, if Rick Glaser's right, it didn't cross the 800,000 mark. If it didn't, and it didn't beat the 500,000 mark, there probably wasn't a lot of back in money. So you're right. They make a profit, and if they did, how much was the profit margin? And then we know that they lost money on the Caleb Plant fight with Benavidez. We know that the Wilder-Helenius fight did not do well. The Ryan Garcia-Tank Davis fight did, but we know that that's because of Ryan, based off of the fact that Ryan has had 2 big fights in 2 years. Both of them have done, the guys they went in against did well above their average numbers. And what's the common denominator? Ryan Garcia. Loma's a legend, and I don't know how, and maybe low-level pay-per-view legend because he's not a major box office star around here. But we know that he's a really great fighter, and we know that people like to tune in to see his fights. He fights Devin Haney. Did that even cross 300,000?
Devin Haney,
and Loma.
No, I don't think it did.
Right, but then Haney fights
Garcia.
Prograis.
Prograis.
No, Prograis, and still not a major needle mover. All of a sudden, Ryan gets in after a loss, and we crossed the $500,000 mark.
Yeah, I remember when Ariel Hawani, or whatever his name is, asked Haney about the Prograis pay-per-view numbers, and man, Haney got shifty-eyed. I'd never seen, other than in the cartoons, I don't think I've ever seen somebody shifty-eyed that much. He was looking all over the place. I haven't seen the numbers. Come on. You saw the numbers, and they were horrible.
Right, but he added Ryan Garcia, and it definitely, I don't know if it got to the million or 800,000 mark, like some sources tried to say, but it definitely crossed 500,000.
Mm-hmm.
And same with Tank versus Ryan. So what's the common denominator here?
Exactly, but that's the thing, though. Look, one of the things that we're harping on here today is that if you want to be a mainstream boxer, you have to fight the best. Tank Davis, when he fought Rolly Romero wasn't even ranked in the top 10 of the lightweight division, either by Ring Magazine or, well, I don't know about ESPN, but I know Ring Magazine didn't have him ranked in the top 10. When he fought Isaac Cruz as a late minute replacement, Isaac Cruz had just barely made it into the number 9 spot recently. At that time, and he ended up giving Tank Davis all he could handle. Mario Barrios made it into the number 7 spot of the junior welterweight, and that's on a decision that could have and should have gone to Akhmedov, and he gave Tank Davis the business, and he was dehydrated on top of that. So what we're seeing a trend here of Tank Davis not fighting the best, and people know that, and then on top of that, he's putting up rehydration clauses on the guys, and people are going, why are we going to buy this? And I mean, think about it. When his fans don't even want to buy the fights, that lets you know this ain't going to do well at the pay-per-view. They're doing well at the gate. Good for them. But pay-per-view wise, and then on top of that, let's get down to like a PR level here. Let's say you work in marketing or whatever, right? Which means you're probably gonna put a bullet in your head within 5 years. But the point is, let's say you're working in marketing and you say, okay, we gotta build something around Tank Davis. We gotta sell him to Mr. and Mrs. America, right? What do? The guy's all tatted up. He's got a criminal record. He acts out. He looks like a homeless guy sometimes. He does semi-homosexual things. And there you go. So guys,
put him in a music video.
Put him in the music video, all right?
Put him in the music video with Drake, bro.
That makes no sense, man. Come on, somebody help me out here.
The thing.
That would be the urban crowd. That's how you catch them. That's how they like. That's people that like that look.
A dwarf with a purse. Hey, listen. Here's the thing, BDA. The when you say he does well at the gate, I think if you really think about what you're seeing, you're really just seeing a full auditorium, a full arena, if they're even full. But I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean they're doing well at the gate. You got to keep that in mind. Like, that just means the place is full of people. If you're going to have something on TV and you're going to have a fight and you're going to have anything broadcast, you can't have an empty stadium. You know what I'm trying to say? You can't have empty seats to that point. That just can't do it. If you guys remember during the pandemic, when some of these UFC fights were going on with no crowd, it was like borderline bizarre, like watching these fights like with no crowd. It was like a little weird. There's just no.
It was weird because they had the audience on a track and they would play them and there was a punch of like, oh.
The NFL did that. The NFL did that right out of the gate. Audience on track, but the UFC had some actual fights in that Apex where it was just like, just the sound of people's feet on the canvas and people breathing and shit. It was cool because you could hear the rings,
every shot,
you could hear the corners. Yeah, you could hear every shot. You could hear what the corners were saying perfectly at all times. But it was pretty bizarre. So the point being, like, it's like a flight. When you take a flight, they're always full. I mean, really. I mean, they'd rather sell the last seat on that flight for fucking $50 or give it to a standby person, an employee of the airline, than have that seat go empty. That's just a wasted seat. So it's
Jimmy has alluded to the fact that some of his fights where they say, "Oh, he sold out," that he didn't really sell out, and then on top of, like you said, that they papered the crowd near the end. But this one, apparently, it's in Las Vegas, and apparently already beforehand they'd already sold the seats. So again, I don't know if maybe like you said they were papered way before. I have no idea. But you're right, though. I mean, because when you talk with Tank Davis fans, that's really the selling point that they give you. It's like, oh, he does well at the gate. He does well at the gate, but you walk him down the street, how many people know him? And by the way, this whole thing of doing well at the gate, I would be willing to say that maybe they do, because if you look into the crowd of those Tank Davis fights, it's a lot of guys tatted up, long hair, baggy clothes. They're probably the type of guys that show up there after smoking a little bit of the herb. So they got the munchies, and they overprice everything over there at the concession stand. So they must be making their money back somehow.
But the concession mainly goes to the arena. That's the profit for the arena. It doesn't necessarily go back to the promotion. Yeah, I don't have the business breakdown on all of it.
Well, you got to spread the wealth.
All of how it goes,
you got to spread the wealth. There's plenty to go around.
And then on top of that, when they talk about how much the fight generated, they talk about total revenue. That's basically the gross, not the net. So how much did it cost to rent the arena? So if it brought in $25 million, but it cost 10 to rent the arena, guess what? You walked away with 15. I mean, if my math is correct. Now, I'm just throwing hypothetical numbers, but I guarantee you the arenas that go to rent for Tank Davis fights, because they're supposedly getting bigger, aren't cheap. And if it's Tank Davis fighting, they know they can make some money off of it. The reason why the arena never loses money is because you pay up front to rent the arena, and then the ticket sales are supposed to be how you were recouping the money from that. That's the only part I know guaranteed of how the gate works. I don't know the rest of it. I don't know what concessions goes and everything else. But I know that for arenas to stay open, they have to make profits. And it's not just, we're going to charge you this much up front. They're going to take some of the ticket costs because they're putting all the risk up of the wear and tear of the arena, the people in there, the security. They got to pay for the staff, extra staff. And then that, you got to buy the concessions up front. that costs money. The concessions aren't free, just sitting there waiting to be sold. You got to buy that
How
stuff.
about the? Hey, how about this shit right here? How about this? If you're a promoter and you're making gobs and piles of truckloads of money on every time at the gate, every time Tank Davis fights, let me ask you a quick question: how many times are you going to fight him a year?
I'm gonna put if I'm making gobs and gobs of money at the gate, if nothing, and no pay per view, but the gate. I'm gonna make
whatever pay per view, but the pay per view is what it is. The pay per view is what it is. I mean, if it goes over, the fighter gets the lion's share anyway. That's not really the promoter's pocket. So
But
if you're making tons of money at the gate, go ahead. How many?
I'm gonna try and get him 4 times a year.
Yeah, as
I'm
many
gonna
as
book
you can.
BDA, what do you think?
As many as you can. Yeah, try like Canelo.
As
when he
many
used
as
to
you
fight-
can.
Yeah.
As many as you can, right. Like whenever, as long as he's healthy, as long as he's not hurt, as long as he's not going through wars in there, which he ain't. Okay, he's not going through wars. I don't care what fight he's been in. It's displaced, feint, back foot, catch him with a shot, try to catch him with a counter shot, walk him into a shot, walk him into an uppercut, and then sooner or later that uppercut lands. So he's not coming out of these fights with any damage. It's not Pacquiao and Morales in there. All right.
Right.
So yet even with that, he fights once a year. Once every 16 months you see this guy fight, right?
That's right.
Right. So if he's
so that goes to show you right there. That goes to show you right there that these gates ain't all they're cracked up to be. Because believe you me, if this guy was making, whatever you're gonna want to call it, whatever number they want to sell you on, which is I think is bullshit. These arenas are packed. People can't wait to get in. NFL's like that, and they have games every week. They have as many games as they could possibly get out of these guys. They have many games they can get out of these guys to the point where the players' union says we don't want to play no more games.
Right.
Like we don't want to go triple overtimes. We only want to go 2 overtimes, and we don't and extra quarters, and we got to keep these games short, man. You guys you're killing these guys because these owners want all the games they can get because every Sunday that stadiums are packed full, dude. So that's all I can that's all I can tell you to think about. Think about that.
That's
You'd
an
be fighting
excellent
a hell of
point.
a lot more than
Yeah, that's an excellent point. This is supposed to be the face of boxing. I mean, just in today's press conference, the guy who's got that Gorbachev Weinstein or whatever on his face, he goes, "This isn't just a fight. Anytime Tank Davis fights is an event." And I'm thinking, okay, but if I thought the same thing. I said, well, how come he hasn't fought since April? And that's the other thing. Some people go, well, he got into legal trouble. Let's not forget that they were going to let him get off with a slap on the wrist, because he ran over a pregnant woman. And that guy ended up screwing up that deal. He blew it. And he had to go inside, and then, whatever happened there. But it's his own fault. So that's why I asked that question. If you're a marketing guy, or working in PR or whatever, and somebody says, okay, you got to make this guy mainstream. How are you going to make him mainstream?
If you're not investing money into him but only trying to get profit, I'm not a business guy to begin. I don't have an idea, but it's like Pete said. I mean, I've followed the narrative for a while. Hey, he's good at the gate, but venues would be calling saying, "Hey, when are we going to be able to book this guy again?" If they would be calling PBC saying, "Hey, when can we get this guy back here? He made us some good money." And obviously the venues aren't doing that. This is what I do know a little bit about music. Music and business, when a rock place sells a place out, sells it out to the point to where they're standing room only and they're barely within fire code, and they know that the crowd was happy and having a great time. The venue's like, when can you guys come back? When can we book you again? They're asking the people when they're going to come back. They're not doing that with Tank, obviously, because or else the PBC and Tank thinks they're making enough money to where they only have to fight twice a year or a year and a half.
Which, I mean, yes,
which makes no sense. Nobody's going to say, "Oh, we've made enough money, so we don't need to fight right now." So
yeah, we made enough. There's no enough.
So Pete's question, which nobody's asked before, so ingenious question, Pete, and thank you for putting it out there.
I don't know about genius, but go ahead.
Well, it's got to be, because nobody else has really brought it to the attention of the mainstream. Everyone's like, everyone's followed the narrative, myself included. He's a box office draw only at the box office. Well, if he's really a box office draw, how come all these places aren't knocking on PBC's door going, look, hey, we got an opening right here. we need you back. We've got to have you now. They're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
If they are, then PBC's turning down fights. That's the only thing I can come up with.
Well, I mean,
but if he's that much of a box office draw, and I'll say it and I've said it 5 times, if he really is, then places will be calling Al Heyman going, hey, we got a spot for your boy. And it doesn't appear that that's happening. All right.
Right. And I'm also harping on the fact, how are you going to sell this guy to mainstream America? Because, with De La Hoya, for example, he had a gold medal around his neck. They were able to bring up the story about his mother and how he promised her he was going to win gold, and then he was a good-looking guy, for people, and but on top of that, this guy he had a bit of a mean streak, and then on top of that, behind the scenes, he was partying it up. They kept that quiet.
Mm-hmm.
With Tank Davis, they can't keep his shenanigans quiet. He's being wheeled out of the Super Bowl, and they go, "Oh yeah, he hurt both his ankles." Both his ankles? What the fuck was he doing? He was shit faced. So he doesn't have the proper people. So no, can he carry American boxing? I think he can carry it until the next guy comes along, a guy who's well suited for the job. It seems like he's not. That's what I'm getting at here right now. That's what it seems like. Right?
If American boxing was a little purse, you could carry it. That's about it.
Oh, come on,
dude. The public doesn't give a shit if he's drunk at the Super Bowl and all and choking girls, and they don't give a fuck about any of that. They just want to see him fight. Mike Tyson punched everybody and wrecked everything and beat everybody up and fucked everything. They don't care about any of that shit. Look, this guy just don't fight anybody. Okay, look. When they're when you're embezzling the money. And you're buying it from yourself, when you're put in charge of somebody else's money that's paying the purses. Oh well, then you could sell them to Waddell and Reed. You really didn't sell them to them. You just sold them you sold a money laundering idea is what you sold.
Mm-hmm.
But the point of the matter is that party's over, and now it's like, okay, he's making all this money at the gate. Just so happens to be the Waddell and Reed money. The whole Waddell and Reed fiasco embezzlement's over. That well is dry. You know what I mean? And now it's getting down to real business. So it's like, if it's real business and he's making all his money at the gate, you'd see him fighting 3 or 4 times a year. And those people would just show up at the gate. They're saying he's already sold to mainstream America. These places are packed. And all I submit to you is that, yeah, the places are full of people, but they kind of have to be.
They're trying to make Tank Davis out to be America's next cup of coffee. And he's not. He's like a stale cup of coffee. That's been sitting around for a long. So
I'm gonna put it like this: you said he's going to carry it until the next best thing comes along. So when Tyson was in jail, Chavez carried it, but Chavez wasn't just the next thing till something else came along. He carried it, and then after Chavez got old and Tyson was kind of on the way out, it was Terry Norris and Felix Trinidad helping carry Don King, but Trinidad became that star, and then he carried it. It wasn't just like he was, okay, he's the fill-in. Now, these other 2 fighters about to name, they were the fill-in between bigger fighters. So when Bernard Hopkins kind of started edge his way out and Roy got old, the fillers, they didn't carry it. The fillers were Jermaine Taylor and Chad Dawson. And I'm under the impression, based off of outside of what the media is saying, but based off of how often he's fighting, who they're putting him in against, the level of competition, and the level of sales he gets outside of the quote-unquote box office, the Tank is just like you said. He's the Chad Dawson and Jermaine Taylor for now, because when a bigger, more charismatic star comes up, if indeed we have one, it'll shift over to that person. Because Tank really doesn't have his own personality. He can say that Floyd did all the talking before, and he's right. Floyd did steal the camera and the limelight. But in wrestling, when you have your Paul Bearer, it's because Mark Kyle's kid has no personality. So you have someone be that promo person for him. Mike Tyson, even though he had charisma in the ring and he said certain things, he needed someone else to really speak for him, and that was Don King. Bob Arum doesn't do that, and Al Heyman never does interviews. So when it comes to him over to Tank Davis, you're going to need either he needs to sell himself like De La Hoya did, like many big stars did, like Ray Leonard did, like Duran did, like Hagler did by wearing that war and, a hat and stuff like that. These guys promoted themselves in certain ways. Tank Davis doesn't really promote himself. because he doesn't. He has no clue what to do, and he has no selling charisma. He can fight and he can knock people out, and I'm not taking any of that away from him.
I mean, he was acting like a crackhead today, and I didn't see it. It wasn't that entertaining. So you're right, man. I mean, there's a sort of a disconnect here in what has to be done. But by the way, before we continue, hold on a second. We got a special guest on the StreamYard. We got the Pigeon. Curious to hear his prediction for the fight. Pigeon, are you there?
Yo, bro.
What's up, bro?
Yo, bro. Listen, bro. Why is he called Tank, bro?
Why is he called Tank? I don't know.
Like
you tell me, man.
A tank commander, bro. Look, I'm a tank commander from World War II, bro. Look, got the headphones on, bro.
That's right.
I'm controlling the tank. I'm moving the tank. I'm about to shoot I'm gonna shoot, bro. Shooting, bro. He ain't no tank, bro. He ain't no tank. Listen.
Wait. Go back on screen. Hold on. Go back on screen because people didn't see you, man.
Listen, bro. I'm a tank commander, bro. Tank commander, bro. Control the tank, bro.
There's Pigeon right there.
The tank, bro.
You're looking good too, Pigeon. It's been a while since I've seen you, man. You're looking in good health. You're looking in shape.
Pigeon Patton.
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, so man. But listen, this guy, this tank guy's a fucking joke, man. He's not gonna make 100,000 for that fight. I don't think he's gonna get the Frank Martin fight over 150. That's my take on it. I'll be straight with you. I don't think he's gonna get 150,000 pay-per-view on it. Where are they gonna buy it? Atlanta? Housewives of Atlanta?
Okay, come on.
Who's gonna buy that shit?
Why'd you gotta bring up Atlanta, man? Come on, man. Leave Atlanta alone, man.
Nobody's buying that fight. Nobody's buying that fight, bro.
Nobody's buying that fight. All right. So what's your official prediction there, Pigeon?
Yeah. I got Frank Martin in the 9th round.
Whoa.
So I personally think he's gonna beat him. Yeah. And I said this to you last week. I think he's gonna beat him to the body. Tim Tszyu is a headhunter. He's an idiot. But the difference between Tim Tszyu and Tank Davis, Tim Tszyu's got bad management. Tank Davis has been swerved from people that are going to crack him in the face. Facts.
Interesting.
That is facts. He doesn't have any defense when he comes in. Yeah. When Tank Davis comes in straight, BDA, when Tank Davis comes in straight, doesn't move his head, bro.
Now I got that. Listen, when the Pigeon makes a bold claim like this, you got to stop and listen because he doesn't usually go this. He doesn't take this type of risk usually. So now I'm listening to what you're saying. I also have to ask you a question. Did you say you went to a casino and lost money earlier?
Yeah, £400, bro.
Oh wait a minute. Was this an actual casino, or are you talking about like the machines behind the liquor store?
No, it was a real casino. I was trying to get some money together for the free Johnny Boy fund, but I spent it all.
I think it's gonna take more than $400 to free that dude. All right, there you go.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, but have a great night. But I'm gonna dip now. But listen. If they think that Tank Davis is this ultimate fighter, he's a bit like Keith Thurman. He comes in too straight. When he throws the right and the left, he tries to corner you, but then he lets you hit him and then he counters you. What you need to do is not engage with him. This is the problem. This is the ultimate problem which people don't understand against black fighters. You don't engage. When you don't engage, you let them do what they do, and then you hit them. The reason why he's messing people up is because they're getting too emotional and engaging with him. It's basic human psychology. What you got to do with Tank Davis is let him come in, confuse him, which is easy by switch. You don't even need to switch hit. You just need to move, and then he gets confused. Then you hit him. That was Rolly's problem. Rolly's problem was he was just fucking trying to counter him on the back foot and attack him, but you're not going to do that. you have to know the mentality of that animal that you're fighting. You got to remember this. We're all fucking animals. We're all animals. We're all the same, but there's different levels of sane. This is the problem with boxing. Boxing will teach you the fundamentals, but it doesn't teach you about the human being.
Interesting.
You need to know the human being that you're fighting.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
right
I'll
there,
dip, bro.
All right, Pigeon. That's a great
Bye-bye.
breakdown right there, man. That's a great. That's a great breakdown there, Pigeon, and good to have you on board. And hopefully you show up more often, man. All right, don't be a stranger.
Yeah, man.
All right, take it easy, man.
Yeah. Love to you, bro. Love to you, bro. Love to you.
All right, right back at you there. Take it easy, man. All right, that was Pigeon right there. Listen, he makes a good point because I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast back on YouTube, by the way, and he had Tank Cabot on the podcast, MMA legend. He was one of the pioneers. This dude, he loved to get into street fights, bar fights actually, in Orange County. He was notorious for getting into bar fights. He said something interesting though. He said, Royce Gracie wasn't tough because of jiu-jitsu. He was a tough guy that got into jiu-jitsu. And I said, God damn it, that's a good way of putting it. Some of these dudes are boxers.
Hey.
What?
Well, sorry, you struck me with the Lord's
Oh yeah.
name there.
Excuse me. Sorry, that slipped up. I'm sorry. But some of these dudes aren't boxers. I mean, fighters. They're boxers. Like Shakur Stevenson. You see how he acts outside the streets. He gangs up on a bunch of people, harassing them when he's got strength in numbers. Then he attacks a woman. So yeah, and then you see how he fights in the ring. Clearly, he's not a fighter. Some of these dudes, like reckon I said about Matias and Machetero. He's like, hey, let's hold the center of the ring and see who comes out on top. I'm going to take you. He's a soul taker, essentially. Some of these guys aren't soul takers. And I got to wonder if Tank Davis, they trying to paint him out as one. I got to wonder if he's a soul taker.
It's hard to say because there haven't been enough people. The one time he had someone that tried to stand up to him, he did hurt his hand. I have to admit that.
Nah, come on.
Well, no, it may not have been enough to hurt the hand to where he couldn't use it anymore. I'm not going to defend to that point, but I think it was his right, so all he had left was his left, but that's his main punch anyway, so that really shouldn't have, if I'm correct that it was his right hand that was hurt, and I really don't remember, but if it was, again, he usually loads up with the left, especially the left uppercut, and sometimes the left cross, but not usually a straight left, and he doesn't always throw, when he throws combinations, it's usually Tyson-esque, from the chest, hooks and uppercuts, nothing straight, and they're all winging. And when I mean winging, not necessarily wild, but it's not like Roy Jones combinations where there's like 6-7 punches, and one of them is going to have more power than the rest. All of his shots are trying to hurt you after he's got you hurt and was trying to finish you. Point being, Cruz was the one guy who he had to try and take, and it didn't happen. Cruz was there for the entire fight. He pushed him back, nailed him with some good shots. And to be honest with you, was it Hector Garcia? The non-Ryan Garcia actually I won't say giving him the business, but wasn't having trouble finding Tank's head with his fists up until he basically wore out.
Well,
so, I don't know.
Exactly. He was sort of giving him the business. And that's what I've been saying about when you look at real fighters, I'm not saying a guy that has to slug it out. What I'm saying is it's a guy that doesn't ask questions. I'll give you an example, and I've said it before. There's amateurs that I've seen, when the trainer goes up to them, they go, hey, listen, I got to fight this Saturday. You wanna take it? Some go, well, who is it? Is there footage of him? Is he a southpaw? Like, what about this and that? Then there's the other guys, they go, you want to fight Saturday? Yeah. No questions asked. No, well, who's he? And that's what I'm saying is when you got a guy like Tank Davis who has to fight guys that are barely in the top 10, and then on top of that, when he does fight guys who have intangibles like power or speed or whatever, he has to dehydrate them. And listen, this is what he said about Ryan Garcia, just to refresh people's memory, because I said I was going to put this up. This is what he said about Ryan Garcia. It's just making sure everything's fair. You know what I mean? I know that Ryan Garcia is a bigger fighter. He already has the advantage of the height, the size, the arm length, like everything. He has the most advantage. So I'm just making it a little fair. That sounds to me like the type of guy that when you ask him, you want to fight on Saturday, he asks a bunch of questions first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sounds like Canelo to me. He kind of fights like Canelo too, to be honest with you. It's the same kind of like full speed, every shot, full power. trying to catch you with one shot. If he can catch Billy Joe Saunders coming in or Caleb Plant coming in, he will. If
You know,
somebody can
difference
just
between
outbox
you know
his
what the
ass,
difference
like,
is between that Canelo's actually fighting the top 10 guys and beating them. Gervonta is not even fighting top 10 guys, and he's struggling with them.
well, they're both beating everybody.
Yeah, but one guy's
They're
fighting
both,
the top.
they're both rehydrating. They're both bringing up smaller guys. They're both sweating down bigger guys. They're both complaining about weight difference. You know, like, I'm trying to make it a little fair. You are okay.
Well, when did Canelo? I don't want to get into the Canelo thing. I know what Pete's trying to do here, but when did he try to dehydrate so many multiple guys?
Shit, he's had more rehydration clauses than any. He's had 7 or 8 of them.
Like who?
It comes to find out. Kovalev.
That hasn't been established. Well, Jacobs. Okay, he tried to do with Jacobs. Jacobs blew it, so it didn't happen.
Okay, all right. I don't have the contract in front of me, so now we're gonna play this game.
Well, when you get the contract, let me know, man, because I hear these.
I'm
genuinely curious.
All
I
right.
want to.
All right. He definitely. So you're saying that he did. So then, like, Badu Jack came out and he's like, yeah, you want to bring me down to 190 and like let me only hydrate back up to 195 or some bullshit for the cruiserweight thing. He tried, couldn't do it there. He didn't do it. He didn't do it with Bivol. Well, maybe he did, but it wouldn't matter with
he
Bivol.
did. All right, maybe he did. Well, that's it. That's the thing. If he's going to be fighting,
I'm saying even if he did, it wouldn't have mattered because Bivol just had him covered boxing wise.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's just.
But here's my thing. But Pete, here's my thing. Here's my thing with the Badu Jack thing. Okay, that's a cruiserweight. What I'm saying is Tank Davis isn't fighting the top 10 guys. He's strolling with them, and then when he does fight guys that have something that can hurt him, like Mario Barrios and like Ryan Garcia, rehydration clause. So what I'm saying is he doesn't really strike me as a fighter, a real guy. He needs to have certain concessions around him. Now, a guy like Lomachenko, I don't think I've ever heard anything out of him like, hey, size of the ring, location of the fight, rehydration clause, catch weight, glove brand. I've never seen that from him. So
I agree with everything you're saying there, BDA, and you're completely right on that. And if I'm interpreting Pete's point correctly, more towards the fighting style than the outside of the ring stuff, the way that he and Canelo fight alike, which is where this conversation started from, is they load up with they throw less than heavyweight numbers, and they're both middleweight, super middleweight, and lightweight. So they're supposed to be fighting with roughly around 70 to closer to 100 punches around. Neither one of them do because they throw fast and hard and like fastballs in every punch. And so before we went to the hydration clause part of it, the comparison was their fighting style of how they just kind of wait people out. They'll let them win rounds. Whether they're walking them down or they're just going to turn the pressure on later through their power and their strength. That's what they have in common. Did I bridge that gap of that conversation well?
Kind of similar.
Okay.
Well, speaking of, because again, I don't understand. So, the Tank Davis has a hold on a lot of people out there about that he's supposedly some sort of elite fighter. Well, it's interesting. They asked him recently to list his top 5 elite fighters. This is what he said. He said he initially put Canelo number 1, which surprised me. But then he scratched him off. He said, "No, scratch that. I'm number 1." So he believes he's number 1, which he has to believe that in order to be the ultimate competitor. Then he put Canelo Alvarez number 2, Benavidez number 3, Inoue number 4, Crawford number 5. Now, what do you fellas think about his pound for pound list?
Well, I think Mayweather's definitely wiped off on him. I'm number 1. So I don't think Benavidez is number 3, even his own. Well, no, I'm not gonna say not in his own division. He's definitely the division's cleared out to where it's just him and Canelo left. So I was overstating that. But
the only people that I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
I'll talk too much. Go ahead and go. I'm good.
The only 2 people that I would agree with was in that top 5 is Canelo and Crawford. Everybody else that he just mentioned.
Oh, Inoue.
What did he mention? It was
Inoue.
Yeah, he mentioned Inoue.
Oh, excuse me. 3. There's 3 guys. I'm sorry. There's 3 guys.
The anti-Asian hate right there, man.
There's 3 guys: Inoue, Canelo, and Crawford. And the other 2, himself included, they're not top 5 pound for pound fighters.
No, they're not. Benavidez is a talented guy who's been mismanaged, but he's just not done enough to where I don't consider him in a top 10 pound for pound at the moment. Not just because he doesn't have a title, because as BDA's friend said earlier, titles don't mean anything until they do.
My friend, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so back to the whole. And Barrios, by the way, is not a champion. But anyway, he hasn't really. He had a title twice, but he let it go, and he hasn't done much. So I'm not going to harp on Benavidez too much. But skill only goes so far. You got to demonstrate the skill against quality competitors, and the super middleweight division as a whole has never been overly overflowing major talent eye-catching weight division. Now, whether that's why Canelo stopped there or not, I have no clue. But Caleb Plant is a talented guy. He's above average, but he's never going to be anything more than now that he no longer has a title, anything more than a consummate contender. And so Benavidez beat him. Great, but you struggled for the first half of the fight. That was your coming out fight. That was your Ike Corte-Obakar fight where you should have destroyed him because Trinidad already did. So Canelo may not have destroyed Plant. Plant may have had some moments, but the fight didn't go the distance. So now you're supposed to say, oh, I can do better than you because I should be able to beat you, and you didn't.
Well, in regards to that pound-for-pound list that Tank Davis provided, you will see that there was one name conspicuously missing, and that was Usyk. And you will recall that Tank Davis, after Usyk beat Fury, he tweeted out saying, not impressed, one round doesn't get you the win. Or something like that, I'm paraphrasing. So, evidently, Tank Davis fails to think too highly of Alexander Usyk, which is bizarre.
Well, it goes back to my comment I made before, though. His predecessor, Mayweather, when they asked him, when I'm moving up to 140, okay, well, who's going to take over the division? We all knew it was going to be Castillo. Oh, it's going to be Victor Sosa or Philip Endow. Okay, well, who's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world? Oh, it's Chad Dawson. Or my heir apparent's going to be Adrian Broner. Now, Broner was looking to show some talent, but once he got exposed by Maidana, we saw who the real Broner was. My point is, this is what his level of talent of eye for the game is. This all-time great, Mayweather, and now he brought Davis up and kind of mentored him. And it's showing the fact that some of this mentality is rubbing off on Davis.
Right. Well, yeah, that's a good point, man. That's a good. Yeah, you can tell. It might tell you. Was that?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's a lot of like focus on what Tank Davis thinks and says. He's basically a YouTuber. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, he just sees like one-shot knockout fights. I don't even know if that's even. He's basically like a fucking world star hip hop highlight reel.
Yeah,
his fights are just.
Yeah, he's kind of big.
His fights are just like.
He's kind of big on that community.
Whatever. I'm just saying, if you like watching one shot, kind of like just one timers, I guess it's all right. You get tired of it though. If you want to watch boxing, it's different.
Is it fair to say he's another Wilder, basically? But obviously, like, anybody's better than Wilder fundamentally. But
no, it's not. Same idea. Just guys walking in a one shot.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of nothing for 6 rounds, and then all of a sudden, boom, one shot out of nowhere. It's very Deontay Wilderish. I mean, when you go out there and
Jake
hunting,
Polish.
Well, I know,
very Jake Polish.
I haven't seen too many of his fights, man.
Like, I haven't seen too many either, but I took my nephew and his buddies to one they had here in Tampa, and I didn't even fucking sit in the seats. I just like was in the back and at the little food thing in the little lounge area, and I'm watching this fight against Tyron Woodley, and I'm like, this fight sucks, dude. He's just fucking sitting here waiting. One shot misses, counter shot misses, and then as soon as he connected with one of them, knocked out a 40-year-old, big fucking deal. Place went ape shit. People love to see it, you know. It's like, whatever. I mean, you know, pay $50, go in there and watch that shit. But the thing about it is, like, that's about what Tank boils down to. So if you're talking about him carrying him, I don't know who's asking him to carry American boxing. First of all, if you have any sport that needs to be carried by one person, you're in trouble. And especially that person's Tank Davis, you're in way big trouble. That's horrible. I'd take anybody.
I hate this talk of face of boxing, carrying boxing. It's like, dude, get off that shit. I don't care if, like, somebody promotes it that way. You could say, look, that dude is the biggest name in boxing, but like he's the face of boxing. Shut up, bro. Like Tank Geek is going on about him being the face of boxing. Like, says who?
His
You know, even if
fans.
let's say if you do sell good, like who says that we watching boxing because of you mainly? It's only because of you.
Right. I mean, his fans are
I don't
very
really
vocal about.
I don't catch very many of his fights. I tell you what, they're on the Friday nights. They're on these like Friday night. He gets on these Friday nights. Then he fought on Sunday night one time. Then he fought on the same night as the SEC championship one time. Then he fought on the same night as Lomachenko versus what's the Japanese guy's name?
Nakatani.
Hirohito. Yeah.
Oh,
Kawasaki. So he fights. He fights in these like off-brand hours. It's like almost It's almost like they don't want people to see him fight. I don't know. They're doing everything they can to match him up to where there's other stuff to watch on. So I don't know, man. The Ryan Garcia fight. The hell was that, man? You hit him in the ribs trained him down to 136, and then hit him in the ribs, and Garcia quit.
We got Jimmy jumping in. Jimmy, I wanted to ask you in regards to the Tank Davis here. The question of the night, the theme is, can Tank Davis carry American boxing? Because in regards to his contemporaries, Charlo, Wilder, Spence, they look to be about done. So until the next generation arrives, it seems like it falls onto Tank Davis' shoulders to try to carry the sport. Now, one of the things we were talking about earlier before you got here was the notion of him selling out arenas. People always say, well, at least he sells out. At least he sells out. Could you please get into a detail? Is this event really sold out, or are there some hijinks going on behind the scenes, as far as you know?
Well, I can tell you his past events that they claim to be sold out weren't. They papered them. They paper up the top arm bowl. They've done it 3 or 4 times. They've claimed to be sellouts, and they haven't been. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This. He can't carry boxing. First off, in order to carry a sport, you're going to need corporate people behind you. Okay. He's on video talking about shooting people, sending thugs to people's houses to kill them. I mean, he's smashing up pregnant women with blood in their face, begging for help. He runs away. I mean, the only reason why the kid isn't on fucking D Block selling fucking oodles or noodles is because he got people protecting him. Let's be honest. That kid ain't carrying shit.
Jimmy coming right out of the gate on that one. All right. Now, what about that? What about the fact that he skipped the grand arrival last evening and then ended up mouthing the promotion via Twitter?
Yeah, he's pissed. He's pissed because he knows that Amazon, like I said from the beginning, they're just a streaming platform. They're not giving them any money. They're not helping them promote. That's all on Steven Espinoza, who is completely running the show right now at the PBC. So I don't know if he is supposed to take that shit over. But yeah, no, there was upon them to pump this shit up. Also, rumors that Ellaby might be leaving or has left Mayweather to work exclusively for Tank. I don't know if how much that's true.
Interesting. He's making himself available for Tank Davis. He's giving it all to Tank Davis, if you know what I mean. I hate to speculate about what that entails all, but okay, so you're saying that Tank Davis might be a little bit miffed by the fact. We were trying to get into that earlier there, Jimmy, about do you think everyone involved in this production notices the downgrade of production from Showtime to now all of a sudden PBC having to front everything from the cameras, the truck, the satellite transmitter, all of that? Do you think they notice that there's a downgrade going on?
Well, I'm surprised that he would notice. I don't know. I'm sure it must have been people around him telling him. But yeah, I mean, it's just, well, have you guys noticed any advertising? I watch sporting events, other sporting events. I see nothing advertised about this fight. Nothing. We'll put it this way. The difference when he was about to fight Garcia, that was all over the place. That was on between fucking football games, hockey, everything. Nobody's advertising this fight. The reason why this fight, the more important matchup, I mean, they have to match us up with Gavojic and Benavidez to have this thing sell. They knew at least, they were smart enough, whoever's, it was probably Espinoza, if it was just upon Martin and Davis to themselves, this thing wouldn't have sold 200,000. Because Benavidez is going to be fighting Vajic, it's probably going to do better than that. So, but it's like basically two main events. That's how they have to do it. And I think he's bitter about that. But who knows?
Yeah, it's difficult to ascertain what exactly is going on with him. I mean, all we know is that he was pretty miffed last evening in regards to that. And yeah, man, I mean, listen, Jimmy, we're smack dab in the middle of the year, 6 months in. What's going on with this Amazon deal and the rest of these PBC cards? They said that there were going to be free cards. What's up with that?
Yeah, well, I know there was supposed to be 12 others, but what happened to those?
Free my ass.
You guys you guys shop on Amazon?
Yes.
Yes, unfortunately.
All right, I do too. I like it. I've been shopping with them. I've been on there since I don't even know what. I saw it yesterday. Member since I don't know 2014, 2012, some shit like this. And that Prime shit first came out. You ever see on there like where something is sold by Amazon and shipped from Amazon, both? In other words, some items Amazon takes an interest in, they actually make an investment in. They're going to come to you and buy 20,000 of your widgets. They're going to pay you a nickel over top of what it's going to cost you to make them. So they're going to bust your balls down to nothing in terms of profit margin, but they're going to buy 50,000 units from you, where you might sell 10 all year. I mean, they're going to like tenfold your business, and they're going to sell the shit out of them, right?
Don't break
That's
my balls.
their investment.
Your own.
Yeah. So other items though are not sold by Amazon. Like there's an Amazon marketplace, which is basically like an eBay, where look, you can list your shit on our website. I mean, it doesn't cost us nothing for you to list your shit. It costs us probably like half of a cent or something to put a picture of it in the description, right? But if you sell 1 million of them, we're going to take a piece of 1 million. We're going to take 2 points or 3, 4 points or 10 points on every one you sell. If you sell 0, big fucking deal. We don't give a shit. If you sell 1 million, we're going to take a little piece of it. But either way, it don't matter to us. That's what this situation is with PBC and Amazon. We got a platform here. It costs us nothing to put a thumbnail up with boxing on it. Okay, with Tank versus Frank. Okay, if you sell a zillion of them, we're going to take a certain percentage of a zillion sales. If you sell 0 of them, we're going to take a percentage of 0. But we're going to be into this whole thing for I don't know, all in $100, because it's just you just give us a link to your cameras and we'll stream it if somebody wants to press the button to buy it. And we'll facilitate the financial part of it. We're going to take their money. They're going to be paying Amazon, and then we're going to pay you minus our cut. So you see that difference right there? That's the difference in a network deal where they're really paying you for the rights to air your broadcast, like the NFL. ABC bid on that. Like they bid every 10 years. We want the right to air the NFL. We're going to pay up front so that we can sell advertising on it. This is not that. This is not that at all. This is eBay. This is listing your piece of shit item on eBay. And if you sell it, great. We'll take a piece of it. If you don't sell any of them, no big deal to us either. But you're on your own. That's all.
Joe in the chat says, it's not sold out, BDA. This fight is not sold out. So he says, this fight is not sold out. Tank is too busy putting shit on toothbrushes. All right. Shout out to Joe. That's his theory right there. That's his theory right there. But it's true. I mean, yeah, this whole thing with Amazon was nothing but a distribution deal. In other words, you give us your product and yeah, we'll host it on the platform. And even then, that apparently they're saying that's falling to the wayside because they're not doing anything with it. I don't know, man. It's weird, man. The PBC really, it seemed like Al Heyman has a silver tongue to make certain deals, but when it comes to promoting, that's a whole different ballgame. One thing is to manage a couple of fighters. Another thing is to actually put these fights together. You need a matchmaker. In other words, you need to know boxing, and he appears to have been deluded when it came to that dimension.
He corrupted a hedge fund manager to funnel all money into an embezzling operation. So I don't know about silver tongue. I mean, he convinced the guy to breach his fiduciary duty and funnel a bunch of funds that he should never have funneled direct them all into one hole in the ground, which he probably got kicked back for, and then went to work for the guy afterwards. That seems to be the MO with Al Haymon. So I don't know if he's like a this savvy sales guy where he's got a silver tongue. He seems to be more like a
well, you can be silver.
embezzling.
You can be silver tongued, but bad character. In other words, like a crook with a silver tongue. Like a hustler. In other words, those guys that they can convince a bunch of people to do what they want, and they convince them to do bad things. Like somebody else, Super Sardonic in the chat says Jedi mind tricks. That's what it seems like with Al Haymon. But you can only do that so much before you burn so many bridges, and it seems like he's on that stage right now. Where he ran through a bunch of networks. Yeah.
And he can't make it profitable because remember he has a judgment against him. Like so I don't know if it's a receivership, but I know he has a judgment against him, and any profit they get has to go because he has a $900 million judgment against him. He was found guilty, so he owes Waddell and Reed that money. So if this thing ever becomes profitable, so that's the reason nobody's going to buy this dog because it's going to come with all the fleas. You know what I mean? So it's dead in the water.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point there, Jimmy. That's a great point. Yeah. So I mean, so what do we? Okay. So just to go make the rounds, who's buying this fight on Saturday then?
Not me. I'll watch it.
Yeah,
I'll watch it, but not me.
I'm Team Stream.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I might, you know what? Because I'm actually now pretty interested in the Gavajkit fight. Because I'll be honest, I didn't see his fight recently. So I went back last night and dug up some video on Gavajkit on his last outing. Really didn't look that bad. I was surprised. He looked better than I thought he would. So I think that's also for years and years. I mean, he's been boxing since he was a little kid. So, but yeah, he lives a clean lifestyle, evidently, because he looked pretty good. His hand speed was better than I thought. His foot, his balance, he took the punches well. So yeah, I think this is a tougher fight than I wasn't giving it too much oomph before, but I don't know. I'm really I'm up in the air on how this fight's going to go. I haven't decided yet.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I think Vosdik's better than people give him credit for. That's for sure.
Oh, he absolutely is.
Pretty damn good fighter. He just seems to be like lost in the obscurity of since that what's the guy's name? The 175 guy that blew his knee out? Yeah, Better BF. Since that Better BF fight, he seems to be like a little bit forgotten about, but he's a pretty damn good fighter.
Yeah,
the problem for him is that Benavidez is going to look the best he's looked in a long time at this weight. He's gonna look great.
The thing is, right though, Benavidez, like people say, Benavidez can hit. Okay, sure, he's got some power behind his punches, but it's cumulative. It's not one shot power. Where Benavidez, everything he hits you with hurts. Like he's got serious power, and
right.
So yeah, I mean, now you add in the factor that everybody Benavidez has ever fought, he's been the bigger guy in most cases by a long shot. This dude is legitimately bigger than him, wider shouldered, taller, got a longer reach. If he sticks up his conditioning, I don't know. This could blow up in his face. But the thing is, he'll just run back down to 168.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to do that.
He might.
Yeah, I mean, without Memo Heredia in his corner, unless he rehires him to try to make that weight again. We don't know, man. We'll see. Well, listen, fellas, hold on a second. Before we go, I gotta read a super chat here. Gotta read from Alex L. No, excuse me. The Quacks. Shout out to the Quacks for reestablishing his membership program. Shout out to him. Shout out to the Quacks. And he says, I refuse to buy this piece of shit. Well, there you go. Being quite blunt about it. Shout out to the Quacks. And shout out to Alex L, who says, Matias versus Ponce is one of the best fights I've ever seen. Whoa. I mean, it was going well until Ponce decided to call it quits. And it didn't even seem he took that much damage. So hopefully we get something better out of Matias. I mean, hopefully Paro puts up a better fight this Saturday. Well, we shall see. Remains to be seen. All right, well, listen, fellas, I got a dip. But shout out to all of you who joined us here on the panel.
Well,
we shall see.
What's that?
I was just going to say one more thing. I know you guys jumped on late, but I don't know. Did you see real quick? Tim Bradley's got to shut his fucking mouth. I got to say, listen, he's just getting out of control with his stupid shit coming over in that Pro Talk fucking thing he's up with now.
Take your time, all right? I'll be right back. I'll be listening, but I'll be right back.
Okay. So somebody sent me a video yesterday. It's just amazing what they have. It's the same thing with Canelo with this kid Inoue. They never say any. I mean, it's like I think he's got to move up. He's got to fight here. I mean, Jimmy Smith's that bootleg dollar store Joe Rogan they have there, the bald guy, jiu-jitsu guy, used to do the narrating for the commentary for UFC, and mostly he did it for Bellator. But so he's like, he's got to make his pro debut. He's got to make his debut here in America. He said that, which. He kind of followed back on that later. Somebody must have been waving to him. No, stupid. He's already fought here 3 times. And he's like, oh, well, his debut against a big money fight. It's like, yeah, dude, that's not a good save. All right. And he also said, well, he's 31 and people just kind of finding out about him now. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? ESPN him as pound for pound #1 in 2019. It's like, this is what you get because.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yes.
I'm sorry, real quick. This is Bradley speaking about Inoue?
Yes, Brian, and it gets worse, dude, because then he goes on to say, well, yeah, if he wants to be famous, he has to fight here in America. Dude, it made my blood boil. First off, let's cut it out. You want to be famous, who do you care about? Anybody here, any person, you want to be famous amongst your people. That's the key thing, his people. And in Japan, he has reached levels of stardom, and fame, that there's not a fighter in the United States who scratches the surface to the level of fame Inoue has over there. He sold out the 55,000-seat Tokyo Dome in under an hour. He shattered this last fight, the Amazon Video Prime over in Japan. It's called Prime Video Japan. The last record was held by the World Baseball Series, Japan versus United States. This just shattered it. He's the most recognized sports figure in Japan right now. He can't walk anywhere without being mobbed. He's a guest on major television shows. They're one of the most popular shows there. He was a guest on that, recently. It's just the level of but Tim Bradley, like this bizarre xenophobic thought that the United States is where it's like, dude, I'll tell you right now, because I have friends who are Japanese, and everybody knows, if anybody knows they look at America like a filthy, hyper-violent, dystopian shithole where fucking people are out in front of the fucking war memorial spray painting them and hitting cops, and the country's divided, talking about civil war. Like, you think he enjoys coming here and being able to go to New York City and shop, right? And not be bothered, because he said what Bradley said was there was people sitting around. Edgar Berlanga, he was noticed. First off, it was Puerto Rican weekend in New York City, so of course it was dominated there by Puerto Ricans, which makes sense. So of course Edgar Berlanga will be noticed, because let's be honest, guys, nobody knows who Inoue is. Yeah, dude, here, which I'm sure and then to Paulie Malignaggi's credit, he was like, yeah, dude, but he's a fucking superstar in his country. Like, I bet you he's glad that nobody knows him here. Like, what makes the arrogance to think that he hasn't achieved fame unless he's achieved fame in the United States? When the people here in the United States, and then even Paulie Malignaggi, tell him, he's like, but dude, you realize the money, the cut in pay he would have to take to come fight here? Like Bob Arum pointed out, the money he makes in Japan, I can't touch. You know what his guaranteed salary was? 122 pounder. Now, remember, outside of against Ryan Garcia, Gervonta, the face of boxing, people say his highest guaranteed purse is usually around 1.5 million, 2 million. His highest ever was 5 million against Garcia. This Japanese kid got 6.5 million guaranteed. That was his guarantee, plus upsales and anything like that. And like I read, that pay is just a fraction of what he makes in endorsements. That kid sells everything from watches to cars to home devices. I mean, the money that kid is making in Japan, there's not a fighter in the United States who doesn't even come close to the money or fame Inoue has amongst his people. And that's the key thing. So just to see that, and at least Paulie Malignaggi called them out, was pushing back hard against it. But Tim Bradley, man, it's just, wow. Goes to show you can be a professional fighter, but doesn't make you an intelligent individual. Because he really sounds like an idiot when he says that shit. Really does.
Yeah, that was a bizarre.
Just look at his ring walk.
Probably the house nigga.
Hey, the thing about Bradley is, man, he seems like an all right guy, but and he seems like he means well. He likes to dig his heels in. Tim Bradley.
What do you mean by that?
In other words, he likes, in other words, he likes to take a stance and I guess off the cuff, and when he turns out that he's wrong, or it turns out that he's challenged on it, he likes to really dig his heels in hard and go down with the ship. You know what I'm trying to say? He's not going to see any other viewpoint, especially kind of like the more wrong he is, the harder he fights. It just seems there's been a couple of issues or topics where he's made some public statements that were just not right, frankly. And he seems to get real combative about it. He said he'd quit. He said he'd quit if Haney lost to Garcia. I'll stop broadcasting. And then, of course, after Haney got his ass kicked, people are going, yeah, you said you'd retire. And it's like, dude, you're not going to retire. So just stop. I mean, just blow it off. Just say, hey, man, whatever. Say what you're going to say. But he starts getting all argumentative about it and going at it with people and making it social media posts about it. Dude, relax.
I'm holding him. Hey, Pete, I'm holding him to his word, man. I'm waiting for him to retire.
Yeah, I demand your retirement. Okay.
Yeah, it's indicative maybe a little bit of how he fought as well. He was a very ferocious guy, would barge in with his head. So maybe that's his character is that to just if he feels he's wrong, instead of trying to step back and analyzing the situation, it's like, no, I gotta attack, I gotta double down. I wonder
how many weight classes did he go up?
It's like the Provodnikov fight. Obviously that's not the fight to fight. You know what I'm trying to say? Stop, dude. Remember that? Yeah, he almost died in that fight just because he was such a fucking hard-headed. He just wanted to keep coming forward and banging it out.
Do you think he had that same mentality when he was receiving death threats from Filipinos? Mr. Bradley, you are going to go down. Remember that? He used to get death threats.
Mr. Bradley, I am going to show you the Manny Pacquiao style.
And I'm curious, how many? I don't really follow him. Then I really wasn't into boxing. I took a break during his really highs of his career. But did he move up many weight classes? I think I read somewhere two. Maybe went from 140 to 147.
Two divisions.
140 to 147.
No, but hold on. Can I just say? Hold on. Let me just say this. Hold on. Yeah, but Bradley was an excellent boxer. Two divisions. There's nothing wrong with just two divisions because the guys he fought in defeating those two divisions, they were quite something. So it's not for us to give him credit because he earned it. Nobody has to give it to him. He earned that credit as a boxer. But as a commentator, he's been saying some bizarre things. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, exactly, Mr. Video. For the fact that, and I'm just saying, if you're going to put that on somebody and again, Paulie Malignaggi, to his credit, pushed back against that too, and even Chris Algieri's like, why is everybody rushing this kid? He just got it 122. So, your premise of your argument is he's too good because he's already beat the two best guys at 122. You have to keep going up until you lose. Then what is this about then? It isn't clearly about you enjoy watching him apply his trade. You can't stand the fact that he's beating Americans or he's a pound-for-pound best fighter in boxing right now. You know what I mean? Even though Usyk kind of is right now because of beating Fury. But again, I don't really count heavyweights as pound-for-pound because they're heavyweights, and that's the reason whole pound-for-pound was made. So it's just crazy that he expects, and like Paulie points out, he's already moved up 4 weight class. No, this is his 5th. No, I'm sorry, 4th. So, and he's like, well, in order to become famous, and then that, dollar store Joe Rogan says,
come on.
Jimmy Smith, you know what I mean? A bootleg Joe Rogan. He says,
come on.
I don't know. I mean, people become boxers to become famous. I don't know what. It's like, okay, dude, you're just completely missing the plot. You think he gives a shit You don't think he reads the paper? Why would he want people to like fucking cloud him and to like know who he is?
I
You know,
wonder though.
I don't know. I mean,
I wonder though if they
Yes.
say provocative things like that because ESPN. What was the guy's? The guy who used to call that football player Everett Smith or whatever, and then what was his name? Somebody refresh my.
Terror?
No,
Mark Kriegel.
No, he was like an ESPN guy, sports guy, and he got into it with a football player because he used to call him the name of a skater or something. And then he told him to his face, and the football player said, "You call me that again, you're gonna have to go to a station break." And the guy calls him that name, and then the football player went at him. What was the guy's name?
I know you're talking about Jim Rome.
Jim Rome, thank you, Jim Rome. He's one of the guys that, as far as I know, he's one of the guys that, as far as I know, was credited for starting that whole thing of sports broadcasting, but that he makes it about him. And therefore, it makes it about him saying ridiculous things in order to get a rise out of people and start a conversation, So I wonder if sometimes, because these guys, they're working for ProBox now. They're employed by Pro. Malignaggi, Chris Algieri, Jimmy Smith, and what's his name, and Bradley. So I wonder if they're told some of that too. Hey, if you can come up with something controversial or that is going to get the ire out of people, hey, go ahead and say it, and we get Twitter views and blah blah blah. You know what I mean? I wonder.
Yeah, but there's better ways of doing that. You could say, hey, we have a live chat. You could make one up, right? We have this, like, you could introduce it into the conversation without making it by one of your supposed most knowledgeable persons, because it takes your credibility away. Makes you sound like you got a fucking head injury. Like, dude, what do you need, your medication adjusted? You sound like a fucking retard. You know what I mean? Like the shit you say.
At least he's got Molinaggi and Algieri there to. I didn't see this show, but at least they got him there to corral him.
But that's the thing, though. Sometimes he'll be Malignaggi who'll say something completely off. Sorry about that. Sometimes he'll be Malignaggi who'll say something completely off the wall. Like I remember in the build-up to the Andrade versus Benavidez fight, he was saying, "Look, guys, all your favorite fighters." Andrade would have beaten them. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, are we talking about the same Andrade who struggled with Jack Colkey, who struggled against Liam Williams, who always deflated after the 6th round like he did against Zulensky? I mean,
that was bizarre, BDA.
Right?
Yeah,
that was weird. Like, all of a sudden, he's the biggest Andrade fan and shit. He's crying. Andrade would beat your favorite fighter's ass. Like, no, he fucking wouldn't. That's why he didn't fight nobody.
I think that had something to do. I think they probably came up as amateurs, and that probably was him trying to big up his friend or something.
They would have fought in the same region. Yeah, he's right from Rhode Island, and Paulie fought from New York. So yeah,
right,
do you think
they would have seen each other around there?
Maybe he saw himself in Andrade, in Devin Haney.
Maybe. Hey, maybe. Yeah, you're right.
Well, that was Paulie's thing. You know what I mean? He's not a heavy puncher. His whole thing was boxing. Float like a butterfly and sting like one too.
Oh, come on! Wait a minute.
Describes Paulie Malignaggi.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, Jimmy, because I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, that really set the Twitter on fire too. Some people, I know Haymanites tweeted about that, and it's, again, I can't, I'm not too bothered by it because it's, it's his opinion, but at the same time, it's. I wonder if they're saying provocative things for that, to provoke people and get a rise out of them. I mean, it's the media now. It's the media industry. These guys, sometimes they might get directives to, hey, man, you got to really pump it up, man. You got to pump it up. You got to get the views in. And they come up with gimmicks like that.
Yeah, I mean, the only people who's making the kind of money anyways making heavyweights. Canelo and heavyweights. Nobody's getting that kind of money. I mean, he's making over $10 million a fight between endorsements and fucking guaranteed pay.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? So he's making huge money. He's insanely famous in Japan amongst his people, right? And that's the important thing. Why would he want to be famous here? Like even Paulie Malignaggi said, he probably comes here and it's a relief. He can go shopping. He doesn't get swarmed by people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's asinine to think that we could just listen, the sport is a niche sport and it's growing around the world in many places, but the United States, it's actually becoming apart at the seams almost. Saudi Arabia is saving the sport.
You know when a movie runs into problems in America? It's if he goes to like a real big city like New York, LA, and the fucking Japanese media gets in contact with one of their people. over there in New York or whatever, then he gets bombarded because that does happen. But like you said, he's probably happy when he comes to America. He could just kind of like let his hair down.
And it's not lost on them. I mean, they've seen since the fucking COVID, the assaults on Asians, unprovoked assaults, has risen by over 1,000%. And they read that. No, it has. It's up over 1,000%. So he sees that. Like, why the fuck would I want to be famous in that fucking violent shithole?
All right.
I mean?
A couple of those are my fault.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, but it's interesting. Yeah, people don't.
Those are Tank's fault. Or Tank's fans' fault.
There you go.
A lot of them.
I don't think people understand. I think people
over 90%.
I think some people fail to understand. Some people fail to understand the negative effects of being that famous. I'm not even that famous. Like I said earlier during the show, people always come up to me in my neighborhood to confer with me and ask me for my advice. And sometimes I can get annoying because, like, hey, man, I'm just taking a walk here, and you're swarming me for advice. Now I can only imagine what it would be like for a guy like.
Get off your high horse. Get off your high horse, man.
I don't have a horse. But what I'm saying is,
it's ugly.
Joe Rogan, for example, that's a mainstream dude. It must be a pain in the rear end for him to go out anywhere. And you got people coming up to him, hey, can you promote my podcast? Can you come on my podcast? Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? It's like, oh, man. I remember, just one last anecdote. When the Beatles were extremely famous, peak of their powers, Paul McCartney, he was saying, like, man, I miss just getting on a bus and going somewhere. And George Harrison, whose father was a bus driver, he couldn't understand it. He's like, why the fuck would you want to get into a bus? But what McCartney was essentially saying is that everywhere he would go, he would be swarmed. That's not a normal life anymore. And then nowadays, with social media, your life is under a microscope. Every time you say something, every time people immediately tweet it out, they put it on Instagram. So there's some negative things to being famous.
Yeah, when the Beatles came to the United States, when they went to New York, right? Famous New York City, they could only see it from inside a hotel room. They couldn't go outside, and they had to rent 2 whole floors, and they put tin foil up in every window because they were trying to get people on adjacent buildings taking pictures. They would have to be swarmed. People would literally be pulling their hair out just to get a piece of their hair. They actually cut up the carpets in the rooms that the Beatles stayed in, and they were selling them for 50 cents a square inch. That Beatles walked on this. That's how famous they were. But no, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I asked him about that. I've asked 2 famous people, 2 different levels of fame at Gaucho's restaurant in Aruba when I was talking to him, and I was like, what was it like, because he was famous amongst bodybuilders in the 70s and 80s, had, moderate fame. But when he popped off into movies, when he became real famous, he said, it's great. It's like being stuck in your own fucking, like, gilded, like the whole gilded cage thing. He says it's great in one aspect, but like when he had small children, he goes, if my kids want to go see a movie, I got to rent the whole fucking theater out. Jeez, and he's tight too. He's tight with money. Really? So, his thing was the money, but yeah, he had to rent the whole movie theater out. He would have to get 4 or 5 security to make sure they're at the entrances and exits. Whoa. Everything has to be planned out, like almost what he said. So yeah, it makes everyday things just like want to go to the beach with your kids. No, can't have that. You're going to get swarmed. So, yeah, you could definitely see where it would be ugly. And I got a friend from Godsmack, the bass player. Nobody knew who he was until I mentioned it to the stripper. And then it was it was with him, it was like he didn't like when people found out who he was, how they acted different. And I saw it firsthand. He was sitting there with the rest of us at a booth. But once the fucking money hose found out who he was, completely changed the way they treated him. And he says that sucks because nobody ever treats you real. You never run into anybody real. Everybody's just different, So
remember that little interview Tupac had when he goes to the clubs, he's like, these same girls. I was there a week before. He said the same girls. They just bypass me. I'm smiling in their face. They're looking at me like I'm weird. Somebody whispered in their ear that I'm Tupac. And then all of a sudden, these same chicks, they treated me like I'm.
I heard a lot of celeb. Oh, it's great.
Which is true.
I'm sorry,
once they say, listen, I've seen this where you'll say something about someone, and sometimes it'll be a lie. I'll be like, hey, like one of my boys hanging out. Like, yeah, my man's a a record producer. I'm lying. I'm clearly lying, and these fucking girls are loving this.
Oh man.
Yep.
I'm saying I've heard people say like rich and famous people just say, I just take rich and then stop. I'm happy there. Like forget the fame.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
But that's still Beatles, Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's a far cry away from these fucking, especially athletes, but especially boxers. I mean, you're any boxer that we in the top 10 pound for pound list could walk down the street and not get arrested. Couldn't even get recognized one time, I don't think. I mean, Terrence Crawford or maybe some of these heavyweights, they might walk in and you might just because of their height and their build, you might say, hey, you might be an athlete and start looking them up, but no, it's fucking middleweights and
well, somebody said
welterweights especially.
Somebody said that if Tank Davis walks into somebody said that if Tank Davis walks into any gay bar across the nation, they will recognize him immediately. Like he's a famous.
Hey, Tank.
Well, I mean, fucking seriously, that's a prime example. Tank Davis used to walk down the streets of New York City. Nobody would know who he is. They would just think someone was take your kid to work day. I mean, he's only like 5'4". You know what I mean? So,
what does that have to do with it?
That's the difference. But yeah, I mean, he looks like my God, you ever see that picture of him standing next to fucking my God, the heavyweight that Deontay Wilder and his boys attacked at the hotel, the one he knocked out in the first round.
Brazil.
Was that Brazil? Yeah, Brazil. Is that picture of him next to Brazil? It's like the circus has come to town. You know what I mean? You got the fucking. He just looks so goofy. He's got such skinny legs too.
That was the whole point. That was the whole point of this. Well, not the whole point, but one of the main points of this podcast was like boxing. It's hard to have a boxer break into the mainstream star. You can only have so many. Right now, we have Canelo and Joshua. Those guys are in their 30s. With Tank Davis, at least he's just about to enter in the 30s, and he seems to be on the cusp of breaking through, but he's not doing it. So my question is this: I don't watch too many other sports, so. In terms of just the U.S., forget soccer players because those guys are famous all over the world. But in the U.S., who would you guys say is the most famous athlete right now that he can't walk anywhere without people badgering him?
Well, I would say like LeBron James, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Shit like that. Somebody who's completely recognizable. Guys like that.
Is Tom Brady retired or is he still like who's an active guy?
Yes, he's retired, but he just signed a $50 million a year job with Fox. To be an analyst.
Hey, good for him.
Dude. Any quarterback in their city, any quarterback of any NFL team in that particular city, or even in that region, is going to be known right now. I don't care if it's what's his name, Patrick Mahomes or
Dak Prescott.
Yeah. Oh my God.
More likely not go anywhere in Texas, nowhere in America without being mobbed, and he's not the quote unquote face of football. You know what I'm saying? He's not.
No.
And he would get more attention than Tank would ever get throughout his whole career, more likely.
Well, it all comes down to corporate sponsorship. And if you don't have corporate sponsorship behind you, don't have a Pepsi deal. The reason why I got Ryan Garcia, right? Look at him. He's got major although I don't know what's going to happen now after he pulled all that crazy shit, getting ready for that Haney fight. But that's what brings you to Sugar Ray Leonard, fucking doing the Sprite commercials, or was it Pepsi? Did the luggage, Averse rental cars. He was doing all kinds of corporate shit. So he was famous before he even had his first pro fight coming out of the Olympics. Because the mainstream media was behind him. If you don't have that, and Tank is never going to have that because of the baggage he brings, because of his poo-poo fucking toothbrushes and all the other crap.
That you had to bring up the toothbrushes, but yeah, so because there is a hierarchy, it seems, in terms of sports. Like Pete said, the football players, and I've even heard. I don't know. Maybe you guys can confirm this because I'm not American, so I've never had. Maybe there's something similar here with hockey because they venerate hockey players. But is it true that over there in the United States, for example, if you're a high-level high school, let's say basketball player or football player, where they know you're going to make it to the NBA or the big leagues, and eventually, are those guys local stars as well?
Oh,
in Texas. Yeah. Yeah, states like Texas, Pennsylvania, where football, and Florida in some cases, where football is a religion. Absolutely, the local kid is big man on campus syndrome.
Did that guy Aaron Hernandez get away with murder?
Hold on, one at a time. Because you guys recognize that, because I don't think you can hear people. But go ahead, recognize. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that I can remember as far back as the late '80s, guys who were gonna go to college from. This is when I was living in Florida. Um, they were like little local heroes. These dudes were. I
Yeah,
mean,
you're big as shit.
you're
You're
big
big
as shit
shit in
over
high
there.
school.
When
But
if you're
I would adjust with.
if you're like
Yeah, no,
real quick,
high school standouts
if
are
you're
big,
like
but I would adjust it to college though. Yeah, college though. Like if you're a big college
oh yeah, no,
standout,
college is a different ballgame. You're going to the
yeah,
next level.
people
But
know you. Yeah,
if you're a football kid, if you're a kid coming out of high school and that you got drafted to some college, you were pretty you was kind of a big deal within your own county. At the very
you're
least, your
big
own
shit.
county. Yeah.
Yeah, you're big shit. But you're 17 or 16 years old. You're living with your fucking parents. I mean, you're not like out and about like you're fucking out on the town. But when these kids go to college and these guys are like big time college players, yeah, they're like they own the place. They own the place. Yeah, like
How many?
like
So
oh my
these
God,
guys go out there and they start banging white girls and all that.
whatever they want. Whatever they want. Whatever you want.
Whatever.
Well,
You play
that's what I was
college
gonna
football,
say.
do whatever you want. Use somebody's head for a punching
Jack
bag. Don't matter.
Jack Eichel, he's the captain of the Las Vegas hockey team. The NHL team won the Stanley Cup last year. He's a local kid. He grew up right here next to town over in Chelmsford. And my buddy Daryl, his son was the goalie for the same team. So I used to see, and I worked. I owned a pro shop for many years, so I knew his father, and I watched him grow up. And by 12 years old, you knew this kid was going to make the NHL. He was that much better than, you know what I mean? Like, even when he was playing on the traveling teams, he would, like in a tournament, he would score literally in a weekend where they have like 4 games, he'd have 25 goals. And he's playing against the best kids in the country in some cases. So by 12 years old, they knew he was going to be in NHL. And Eichel said, he goes, it's a full-time job trying to keep him grounded. He said, it's not so much with the fame, but like just knowing that, he'd get, like when he was young, he'd argue with his father. He'd say, doesn't matter. When I'm 18, I'm going to be a millionaire and I'll be able to do what I want, and shit like that. So fame comes, it can fuck you up all kinds of ways. It's usually if you don't have somebody to keep you grounded, that's when it runs into problems. And, that's why so many boxers don't have stability growing up. So when they become famous or rich, it just gets amplified, the nuttiness.
I think Sobers wanted to say something as well.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Sober. Go ahead, buddy.
I was gonna say that with that guy Aaron Hernandez, wasn't he getting away with like shooting people and didn't he have to like kill somebody in a really sloppy manner for him to get in trouble?
He actually killed 3 people. He was a serial killer.
That's
it.
Exactly.
That on the New England Patriots wide receiver. Yeah, he shot 2 people outside of a nightclub in Boston.
Jimmy, there's an interesting backstory that has always been in the rumor mill, but like heavy, not like it's not like conspiracy theories. It's almost like a fact. You know what I'm saying? Like this kid was involved. His people, the people he was around, they were involved. Those guys that he was hanging out with would, let's just put it this way, like heavy drug trafficking. The guys that he was accused of killing in, I think, your neck of the woods, or it might have been in Connecticut, one of the two. The guys that
the one dude, he was hanging on drug dealers. Yeah.
Those guys were major drug dealers, not just like street pushers. They were guys who were into trafficking. Those 2 guys that got murdered, that they said that he did, they were notorious drug dealers.
Well,
I heard about that. There was rumors he killed 2 drug dealers. They don't know that for sure. The ones that he was charged with, the 3 homicides he was charged with, the 3 dudes he was charged with were just straight. The 3 dudes he was charged for killing were just normal, everyday people.
All right, I don't know what to say. I think recognize. I think there's something wrong on your end. I don't think you can't. I don't think you can. Can you hear properly the people on the panel?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, because you guys are talking at the same time over and over.
Are you fucking deaf? Recognize?
Maybe,
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say you recognize.
I can hear you guys fine. I can hear you guys just fine, man.
Okay.
No, I was gonna say those drug dealers that he killed. Usually, when you kill somebody like that, they come back. They come back 100%. They come for you. Yeah,
There was rumors he killed 2 drug dealers from Brockton, but the ones they could prove the homicides he actually killed, the guy he shot behind the fucking sand place, literally 6 blocks from where he lived in a nice area in Canton. That dude was just an everyday dude. He played semi-football, pro football. He worked as a fucking he worked at Home Depot, and the two dudes he shot in traffic were just everyday dudes that spilled the drink on him in line at a fucking nightclub. And when he saw him out inside, he just murdered him.
No, those guys were they were drug dealers, bro. They were drug pushers, 100%. Go look at their arrest record. They were drug pushers, and I don't even think he did that. I think he was there. I don't think it was him.
I like drug pushers.
Sounds like another OJ situation right there.
He killed him. He killed him. He hung himself because of that. Because they were supposed to be coming in. His lawyer told him inside jail that they were going to be charging him with those 2 homicides. It was 2 people in his car.
He beat those. He beat them. He beat those 2 murders. Then he hung himself.
Oh, did he? Oh no, shit! Yeah. I know that one dude he murdered was a friend he met through his wife. It was his wife.
What I'm trying to say is, those guys he killed were not regular. No, that's a. Go read their arrest record. They were known drug dealers. They bring drugs in to states, supposedly that he was accused of killing. I don't think he killed them. I think he knows who killed them, but I don't think he killed them.
Well, I got to tell you, fellas, that's a very interesting story right there, man. There's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of MacGuffins.
Unbelievable.
All I'll say is this.
I don't understand why he did that. It's just crazy. I mean, he made so much money, just because he wanted to be a gangster. He was just angry. And he wanted to be a thug.
Yeah.
Won't see him no more.
Had the world by the balls, man. Imagine throwing all that away.
Well, it's interesting because we were talking about
talented. Just because you're physically talented, that doesn't mean that you're capable of sound
judgment.
Yeah, he's clearly not that.
Is that the dude that had a fake girlfriend, or who are you guys talking about?
Well, Aaron Hernandez, he lived in dude, everything he did was sloppy. I mean, he carried his own cell phone to the homicide, so of course they could trace his cell phone to the towers. I mean, he took the guy, he had him called up, but as he went and picked him up, drove around, they talked, they had some drinks, and then they pulled over in a wooded area near his house, and he got out and fucking shot the dude fucking 3 times. All because he said, "You talk shit about me." He goes, because he talked shit about him.
But Jim, BDA is asking, who the hell is this guy?
Aaron Hernandez.
He was a kid who played. He was a kid. Is Aaron Hernandez his name? He played for University of Florida. He was a tight end. He got drafted to the New England Patriots, and he played with them for about 5 years or so. He was really good, standout athlete, super good tight end, great tight end. And him and Gronkowski were the man up there. And basically he just murdered 2 guys for no fucking reason, like a dumbass. He's a dumbass.
Interesting.
Because he owed him $800 or some bullshit.
I mean, I can understand the frustration.
Then he hung himself in jail. The end.
Yeah, he hung himself in jail. Wrote a note to his wife and hung himself in jail. Man, going from a kid came from nothing, come from poverty, and he just had everything. But he had a chip on his shoulder. Now there's a prime example of a kid, because of his athleticism in high school, all the bad behavior that would have normally gotten in trouble was passed over. They overlooked it because he was this big man on campus. You know what I mean? In high school, he's the star fucking receiver. You know what I mean? We can't fucking suspend him for spitting in a girl's face. We can't suspend him for slapping a teacher because he's the best player on our team. Because of that, he was never told no.
A guy with a lengthy criminal record, and you could see that something happened to his face. He claims that Aaron Hernandez shot him in the face. Whoa. They were never able to prove it, but he said
he shot somebody at University of Florida, dude.
That's who I'm talking about. That guy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he pulled a gun on somebody at University.
Yes, he did shoot. Recognize 100% right. He shot a guy in the face, and he survived.
At Florida, in Gainesville.
Yep.
Yes, in Florida.
Well, I gotta tell you,
and he tried to shoot him a second time, but I guess the gun jammed.
Let him
Something
slide.
like
He's a good
that.
player.
Well, this is according to the guy. The guy is saying, remember, there's nobody who came forward. It's just him. He's saying, look, I was in a parking lot with Aaron Hernandez. I knew him. We got into a bit of an argument. He pulls out a gun and he shoots me in my face, and then he went to shoot me again, but it jammed.
Well, I gotta tell you, it's quite ironic that Pete said that this guy was a tight end, and he appears to have been too wound up tight. Wound up tight. You see? Anyway, the point is this. The point is this. It's interesting you guys ended up mentioning, because this all stemmed from a conversation we're having about mainstream sports stars and how in the United States, just at the college level, you can be a big dick on campus. But it's interesting because, and this is how far boxing has fallen, that in the 1950s, I mean, we all know it was a golden era. Those guys were on, it was those guys and horse racing. And then little by little, football, basketball, baseball, and, those guys took over. And now, there's no mainstream American guy. You got Joshua in the UK, in the UK. You got Canelo in a little bit of the United States, most of Mexico. And that's really it. I mean, it's long gone are the days of mainstream boxers. Quite a sport we got here. We got a fragment of what it used to be. But hey, you know what? Sometimes I say, Sometimes I say that the less people involved, the better, man. Because could you imagine if this was a mainstream sport? How many people would? No, I mean really. How many people would get it here? How many casuals coming in? Hey,
BDA is like, keep it small, man. Keep it small. Keep it quiet. Yeah. Keep it. Relax. Don't get too carried away.
Because you know what? I see something similar. I see something similar in MMA sometimes when I go on the forums or I read the comments, and people have told me that in MMA there's more casuals nowadays. Ever since it started getting more and more famous, so yeah, man, it becomes a problem.
Yeah, problem, big problem. It's like billions of dollars. Pain in the ass.
Well, listen, hey,
come
money.
on, dude.
I mean, I'm just saying,
like
man.
The video show's getting too many viewers. We're getting too many
hey,
views
listen,
here,
it sounds stupid, yeah, but this ain't. This ain't a business for me. This is for fun, man. And if I start getting too many assholes coming on, like that comment that I read earlier at the beginning of the show, maybe you guys missed it, but in the beginning I was reading this lengthy comment somebody left. Tank Davis has fought better opposition than Lomachenko, and I go, holy smokes! I mean, it was just so many glaring errors. But yeah,
I heard you talking about that. But let me ask you one question real quick. Was that comment like a super chat, or was that like an email to you? Was that
that was because yesterday I did a little video about Tank Davis and some of his strong points and his weak points. And I was kidding around. I said that he was like half a homo and all that. So this guy really took it too hard. He says, BDA, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. But then he left a comment in that video to answer your question. And so I had to answer back.
In the YouTube comments, I guess.
Yeah. He wrote a lengthy comment, so I felt like I owed it to the guy to reply. But there was just so many inconsistencies with his comment. I just had to address it.
Sometimes I read YouTube comments and I hit that read more button and it's like fucking paragraphs,
exactly,
like a goddamn dissertation. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Who's fuck is writing all this stuff, man?
I just want to say, my buddy's over here having a fucking conniption because he's like, dude, you're saying stupid shit. Relax, man. But he said, the dude he shot, you're right. His name was Bradley. What happened? He was the kid in the car the night. Those two, there were two fucking Azores, two Portuguese kids from the Azores who bumped into him, spilled a drink on him at a nightclub in Boston. Him and Bradley went out, and when they were in traffic, they pulled up to him, and the police think they tried to charge Aaron with it, but they couldn't prove who it was. It was either Bradley or him, but that kid's name was Bradley. He's the kid he later. The defense team pointed out that Hernandez, he was shot Bradley in the face months later, tried to silence him as a witness. He was going to murder him because that was the kid who was in the car that night. So the kid who got shot in the face, I don't feel bad for him because he either witnessed Aaron murder two fucking people in traffic over a spilt drink, or he fucking did the shooting himself. Either way, the kid's a scumbag. But just imagine that kind of fucking that's just viciousness. Like, you're worth millions a year. He had a fucking $55 million contract to play football.
Jimmy, there's more. You're right on the button, but some of the stuff I heard there was more to that already. There was more to that. Like I said,
you could be right. You could be right on that, dude. I have no idea.
They were drug pushers. They were drug pushers.
But even still, why would he even get involved in that? Like, why people sell drugs because to get out of the poverty? Like, who the fuck makes $55 billion a year as an NFL star?
I'm gonna tell you.
Say,
I'm
gonna fuck get the drug.
air.
They only do that because they want to be part of the life.
Hey Jimmy, I'm gonna tell you.
Cool. All right, yeah, I understand.
All right, well, listen, with that being said, fellas, we do have to go. So shout out to everybody who joined us. I'm talking about Uncle Pete, recognized Sobers, Jimmy. Chief was here earlier as well. Shout out to Chief. I got to read one super chat, though. One last super chat. Shout out to Fight or Flight Boxing, who said, in regards to the Tank Davis versus Frank Martin fight, I am not buying this horse shit pay-per-view. All right, shout out to Fight or Flight Boxing. Thank you for your opinion. It seems to be in line with what a lot of people said. Yeah, it seems to be in line with what a lot of people said with the super chat. So shout out to all you guys, everybody that called in, everybody who joined us here on this chat. I'm talking about Protectorate General, Jacques Cousteau, Super Sardonic, Baron Evola, Epadokua, Protectorate General, J.A., Vince Vegas, Handflow Boxing Review, Unknown. If I forgot anybody, fellas, because we got to go. But shout out to you, El Gordo. Shout out to El Gordo. And hope you guys have a good night. And we'll try to be back as soon as possible. Definitely try to do a Open Last Friday show. That's going to be insane. I hope it's insane.